We be live. Hello.
Hello.
Hi everyone. We're gonna be answering questions. First, we're gonna be answering Patreon questions, and also any donation questions. Anybody who donates, they could like mention that they donated, and then ask their questions. And then we're also halfway through the show. We're going to bring up people who are members, YouTube members. We're gonna post the link um, on the community tab of our YouTube channel, so people who are YouTube members, they get to come up and they can ask the questions live. So if you're a patron, you get to questions ahead. You get to ask your questions ahead of time, and your questions will get priority. So that's the benefit of being a patron. Plus all the blasphemous, juicy, sexy, blasphemous art that we have that is only exclusively available to our patrons. So that is the patron benefit. The YouTube member benefit is different. Is you get to come and ask your questions via audio or audio and video if you prefer. And music guy is confirming that audio is good. Guys, make sure before we start, you like the video, you share the video. All right. So we have a lot of Patreon questions today. So we should start getting into them.
Yes.
Ano Qasim is here. So Qasim is saying, "Hey Armin, Durut Suzy, oh my God, you read this. This is pretty good. You know this."
Durud Suzi Aziz Delam.
Aziz Adela.
Aziz Delam.
Good. Okay, that's Persian for people who don't know.
He's just
Okay.
heaping sweetness upon me.
Yes. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's get to the questions. What are the questions? Oh, Susie,
Oh,
because you're not going to be here at the second half of the show, do you mind like asking the questions that you really want to answer first, and then we get to
trust me,
this?
I will. I will.
Okay, good.
And I've been
Okay, good.
really enjoying the what you do at the halfway point when you bring the members on live. Like I've been really liking when you do that every week.
Yeah.
Um and guys, if you become a member, you also have access to our exclusive Atheist Republic emojis, our emotes, which is very exciting. And if we get like 10 more members, then we get to add more emojis. And we have more emojis like in the vault ready to unleash upon the world, but we like have maxed out our space. So I'm trying to get more people to become members.
Yeah, become a
Um
YouTube member. Just 10 more YouTube members, and we will have more emoticons, emojis. Yes.
yes.
Secret.
Um So honestly, PK is demonstrating in the live chat just all the wonderful emojis we have, but we can't like show it on StreamYard because it doesn't like look right.
Yeah, like
Um,
look, PK just used them, and when we highlight them on StreamYard, they look like this. But if you look at them on YouTube, they look so cool. They're like so cute, but unfortunately, we can't highlight them here on
yes.
YouTube. Yeah.
Um, honestly, I think I'm gonna start out with the spiciest question
Okay, go ahead.
because this is something I've been thinking about a lot, and so we're starting out hot. And it is from Mario, and he's asking, "What is your take on the Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation?" Um, for those who are not aware, and I feel like it might be hard to not be aware, especially if you're an American, is that the world famous actor Johnny Depp is currently in the middle of litigating a defamation case against his former wife, actress Amber Heard. And he's basically saying that in this piece that she wrote in, I believe it was the Washington Post, basically defamed him, knowingly defamed him, and that it caused substantial financial loss. So that's the background. I have a lot of thoughts on this. I don't even know if we're like ready. Armin, do you have any thoughts before I unleash?
I have no thoughts on this, but go ahead.
Okay, so I I'm gonna be honest. Um, 6 years ago, when these accusations about Johnny Depp being involved in intimate partner violence or domestic abuse came out, this was a huge deal, and it really just decimated his good name, his character, his like public standing. He got dropped from um, numerous movies, franchises he's built for years, merely on allegations. Um, and so he's waited 6 years to like talk about his side of the story at all. And he didn't talk about until he was in court. And, there's lots of evidence that has to be brought forth. And so the first few weeks of the trial was all Johnny's side. And then it was getting into the cross-examination of Amber. And then so now we're going to really see like what her side of things are. And I have to admit, I went in full throttle, like pro Johnny Depp. Honestly, I still mostly am pro Johnny Depp. The only part of me is that I have to not let my emotions get the best of me and still rationally say, like, Susanna, we don't know what happened. We don't know. I wasn't there. But my conclusions are either Johnny Depp did not abuse her, and she certainly abused him, or they both abused each other. That's my position on it so far. And I think part of the reason why I just jumped to Johnny's side is because I feel very, very strongly about male victims of domestic abuse and intimate partner violence. It's something that really matters deeply to me because it is so overlooked and it is so maligned and mocked. It's ridiculed, openly ridiculed, and accepted that it's ridiculed in a way that I think is disgusting in our culture. And women putting their hands on their male partners is normalized in our culture, and it's not taken seriously at all. Like, it's not seen as a big deal if a woman like hits her man because she's not big enough to do any damage. It's still wrong. And actually, male intimate partner violence, the perpetrators are evenly matched, women and women. The only difference is that women just physically aren't capable of inflicting as much damage. But here's the difference. Like, I have had male friends of mine be survivors of domestic violence. And these are men who are leaders in their communities, who are so admired, so looked up, so publicly acknowledged as admirable. And they would never tell anyone about what they went through, like the abuse that they went through by their female partner. And that really bothers me. And the things that were done to them because women can't inflict harm just with their own two hands in the same way. Like, the things that my friends have told me about the other things that people have tried to do to harm them, like even while they're sleeping, it just really deeply left an impression on me. And so to see a lot of the public support for Johnny come out so strong, really like delineating what he went through, I think that's been something that's been really like emotionally validating for me, or just like been nice to see people pretty much overwhelmingly come out in support of him. Because I don't think this is supported enough. It's not taken seriously and it's normalized, and women aren't held accountable. They straight up are not held accountable for this. And it drives me insane. Because they're like just so weak and fragile. Like, they didn't really mean it. Like, it's like infantilizing in the sick, saccharine way. Like, suddenly when women are the perpetrators of violence, it's like, oh, it's not as bad. Like, all of a sudden they become the one that's infantilized. It really disturbs me. So I noticed and had this insight into myself having this very strong gung-ho reaction just fresh out the gate when this kind of court case started. And then I have to kind of step back and say, at the end of the day, like, there is a certain element of this that, like, we don't know. We have to throw up our hands and not fight this on the level of did this abuse happen or not happen, and more the case for the defamation. Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about a lot, given what's going on in the public eye.
I have opinions actually now.
Yes.
First of all, okay. So first of all, as somebody who doesn't follow celebrity-related news, I think that a lot of people like me who don't follow that look down upon people who do, which is like not, which I don't understand. Like, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. You're not superior for it not being your thing. Okay. Why can't you just let it be not your thing without looking down upon people who are interested in following it up, following up, like, I really don't care much about celebrity news, but I also hate the idea of the people who think that, oh my God, look at me. So I am so high and mighty. And I'm like, this is beneath me. Like, okay, it's just you have a different taste. Stop like acting like this is a virtue that you don't enjoy it, right? Or you're not interested in it, right? That also, even as somebody who doesn't follow celebrity news, the fact that this captures a lot of people's attention, you have to understand that it could be used to highlight certain things that goes beyond celebrity news, right? So, like this case, for example, given that so many eyes are on it, could be used for bringing attention to certain inequalities between how men and women are treated on both sides, right? Um, so it's there's utility in the fact that there's so many eyeballs on it, right? Or bring it more attention to domestic violence using the celebrity case, or also to promote skepticism. Too many people
Oh,
haven't.
that's another point I want to add.
Yeah, no, like so many people who have no idea how legal stuff works or have any idea about, don't know the details of the case. They just, based on a few elements, decide which camp they're on, just based on what it feels like they get a good sense, feeling about Johnny Depp, or what's the woman from the other side? I don't even know her name. What the fuck?
Amber.
Amber.
It's in
Okay.
it's in the question below
Oh
you.
yeah. Okay. So yeah, Miss Hart. Okay. They don't like. They just like her, and they take their side, or they like him, and they take their side. And this is a good opportunity for us to come and tell them that that's dumb, that's stupid. The best answer is, I don't know. Like, I don't. How would I know? Just because I've, look at his mood. And also, these are professional actors. Okay. These are like your sense and your feelings is always unjustified because those are not evidence. But when it comes to professional actors and actresses, you should even now you should judge your impression of how they're talking even less than before, because these people know exactly how to make things that are not real seem real. It might be exactly the case that Johnny Depp is a domestic abuser and he's lying the entire time, and Amber Heard is right. She's the one that is the victim, and Johnny Depp is just putting on a really good show. That could be possible. You have no idea. Your feelings are unjustified, and it could be exactly the other way around. So maybe this is another good way to remind people of that and promote skepticism, which is always good, right?
Yeah, I think
Um,
the problem is that people keep on looking at this case as, oh, he did it to her or she did it to him. I think it's both. Like, I think it is likely both. She had a previous history of domestic violence against her girlfriend. Johnny had no previous history of this. But the other thing is that, okay, so I saw someone tweet this and I thought this was so good. Um, this woman tweeted, it was something along the lines of like, I hope this court case is finally put together or put to rest the horrible idea that 50% of the population should automatically be believed. I couldn't agree more. Like, we shouldn't automatically believe that 50% of the population is correct.
right.
By the token of what's between their legs. That's insane. We
Did
shouldn't
you
do
did you
that. We should take
wait,
people
Susanna?
seriously.
Did you
We should
just
take
define
people
woman?
seriously, but we shouldn't just believe them. Like, what?
Did you just define woman based on what's between their legs?
Oh
because
shit! I'm gonna get canceled.
okay, Asian American saying, "Are you womanizing, woman-splaining male assault for us men?" Yes,
Yes,
Susanna.
I
How
am.
dare you? How dare you, Susanna?
And
This
I'll
is
do it while women's spreading.
okay.
PK saying the fact that remains that most domestic violence victims are women. So that's true, but the gender or sex of perpetrators is almost it's basically the same. It's off by a few percentage points.
No, so no. The more important point I think is that given that the what you're saying is most, not all, that means that people use this word most as a way to assume that the men cannot be victim, right? So you have to understand that it's most. So and you're correct, but a lot of people generalize and I assume that men cannot be victim, and that's the problem, right? And that's the
Yeah,
problem
or
that
that it's
Susanna
like
was
not as
addressing.
bad, or that if a man went through that, then he's like weak and kind of should be mocked.
Mhm.
It's so horrible. Secular Sakai is saying following celebrities isn't information that corresponds with intellect in any way. It just doesn't interest some people. Yeah, so I've been watching the court case mostly because it's been interesting to see kind of like the public reaction to it. I find it interesting. I mean, this is like the highbrow rationalization for why I like to watch these things, right? Oh, it's a commentary on our social culture. How are the people responding to this? And then there's the other part of me that's like, no, these lawyers are snippy and they've got an attitude, and I want to see this courtroom drama. So I also have to be honest with myself about that.
Okay, so another thing I want to say is like following. Not everything you follow has to correspond with intellect. You could have interests and fun activities. I mean, you could go out, I don't know, in a club to dance. Is that an intellectual activity?
It can
No,
be.
it can be, but it doesn't have to
It can be
be. Okay,
spiritual.
you could no, but like not everything you have to do have to, you could have interests. You could follow celebrities or watch shows that doesn't promote your intelligence one bit. You don't it's exhausting if everything one of your interests has to be intelligent. Okay, so it's not a I mean, it's too much of too high of a standard to have for everybody. Okay, it's you mean I don't see for me not following it. I don't see it because I'm an intelligent person. That's why I don't follow it. It's just not my taste. If it was my taste, it would be stupid not to follow it if I found it interesting. Like if it's unintelligent for you not to do unintelligent things that you find interesting because you have to satisfy the emotions, your sense of desire to entertain yourself. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
it's completely fine. But also, even if following celebrities itself could be a just mere act of entertainment, which is completely fine, following the followers of celebrities and how they behave and think, that could be an intelligent thing to do.
Oh, that's
Like
fascinating.
studying the personality, the people surrounding celebrities and how they how they follow it and how they come up with their decisions and how it influences people's activities and behavior. That is actually some really deep stuff. Okay, so that's another side of it.
Um, Mario is saying, is it wrong for a man to hit a woman in self defense? I don't think it is wrong for anyone to defend
Oh
themselves.
yeah,
Of course.
but
Here's the thing,
unless
though. It has to be from physical violence because there's been all this rhetoric about, oh, words are violence, words are violence. I'm defending myself against your verbal violence physically. Like, no, that's not okay. Like,
yeah, yeah. Also, I mean, if somebody slaps you and you all of a sudden take and r- point a rifle at them, that's like it has to be. Yeah, I mean, okay, I don't know, actually. I don't want to
it
actually. I
depends on
have
the
no idea.
situation.
I actually have no idea. Okay, because I might get
Don't
in
basically
trouble.
don't pull a Will Smith. Don't be like your words hurt my feelings. I'm defending myself. I'm defending my wife. Like
Yeah,
no.
actually, I don't know. I'll take that back because you might not be able to know how bad the violence is getting. I have no idea. I have to think about
I was
this.
about to say
Okay.
that's very different than your argument for Israel. For Israel, you say defend yourself to the fullest of your capability. I mean,
Well, I mean,
granted, this is different than a nation state than a
yeah,
person, but I think the principle kind of stands.
no, it doesn't, because it's still the idea of lives being lost. We're talking about,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So I was talking about Islam. Anyways, I don't want to comment on this because I need to think about it more. But we should move on to the next question. Oh, you highlighted another comment. Did you want to
Oh
read that
no,
before?
let's just move on. But very quickly, Bulbul is saying, Atheist Republic, please call Andrew Seidel back to talk about the leaked draft of Roe v. Wade. I was actually thinking about this today, and I think I might do that for secular jihadists. He's probably running around with his hair on fire, emotionally, and also with everything that's going on. So I'll see if I can get him on. Let's find another question. This is interesting. This is from D. D is asking, I read a recent article that said Catholicism is declining in Latin America, but evangelism is growing. Which do you think poses the greater harm? And this was an interesting question to me. I hadn't really considered between these kind of different branches and styles of Christianity, which is more harmful. So part of the reason I speculate that the Catholic Church is declining in Latin America is the sheer volume of abuse that the Catholic Church has engaged in across Latin and South America is insane. And they can't cover it up anymore. Like the situation in Chile in particular is horrendous. And I think this has caused a lot of people to be very disenchanted with the Catholic Church at large, as it hasn't been across the globe. But I think it's like South and Latin America like has a particular history with the Catholic Church that still remains a very important part of the culture to this day. And so the relationship is kind of different than what I see in other communities. And so I was thinking about this, and I was thinking that maybe I think evangelicism might be worse because Catholicism is one specific institution. So there's structure to this institution, and you can have very structured arguments against it. It's kind of like the difference between Islam and Hinduism. Stay with me here. Because but evangelicism, it can be more shape-shifting. It isn't as rigid. So when you attack one thing, you could say, oh, well, that applied to that congregation, or oh, that applied to that pastor, but not in this area. So I kind of think of it similarly, because Islam is obviously very strict, very rigid. There's very specific structures that you tie your ideas to. Whereas Hinduism, it's like, oh, no, it's this. No, it's not. No, it's this. No, it's not. Oh, no, but it's this to this person, but not to that person. So it can shapeshift. And I think the shapeshifting ability of it, adaptive ability of it, is more harmful. Evangelicism also really lends itself to cults of personalities on a whole different level. And I think that's dangerous too.
Okay, I was thinking about this. I think evangelicalism might be more dangerous because of, oh, you have my logo. You have to change that. Because of their goals when it comes to foreign policy, and their influence on foreign policy is different from the Catholic. So the Catholic Church is harmful.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, like they're trying to bring the end of times.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as we are against the Catholic Church when it comes to their influence on politics, they're mostly harmless. They're like, oh yeah, global warming is a thing. We need to take care of the planet, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Their harm is mostly like the main harm is like it's an organization that protects people who harass children, right? And that seems to be its main purpose, and everything else is just the dressing. It's it's just the Jesus stuff is a side thing, and also this whole activism that they do. even if it's not harmful as much. It's just a side thing to just cover their brand. But when it comes to evangelicals, their influence on the politics in whatever country they manage to eventually dominate is so destructive to the entire planet, both from a global warming perspective and promotion of war perspective. And now evangelical ideology has now mutated to QAnon ideology as well. So, wherever you can see, and it has the ability. It's a lot more flexible, like you said, than the Catholic ideology, for it to be able to turn into things, to destructive things that it needs to have the political influence that it. So if it spreads in a country, um, the way it could influence politics, and the fact that the politicians need to submit to it if they want to remain in power, makes the politics of that country so dangerous that affects countries outside of the countries that the ideology is dominating. That's in that way it's a very destructive force. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. I saw the funniest comment from Oxymoron saying, "Why is Susanna thinking like me, drawing random parallels?" um, and also, this is a good point. The quote unquote way of life Hindus have Hinduism, which is shape shifting, and you also have traditional sects that are very, very organized structure. This is true. The like idea of Hinduism as a singular thing is actually an idea that's antithetical to Hinduism itself. This is a Western understanding of an Indic like ethno-religious society at the time. So but the whole way of life thing is what's most marketed to people in the quote unquote West, and also like it's used, I think, politically a lot. Like specifically to be protective of Hinduism. Like it's not a religion, it's a way of life. There was an atheist who successfully got his Hinduism marker removed from his government documents because he said, "Well, if it's not a way of if it's a way of life, then like don't put it on my like." That was his whole argument. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I thought it was so clever. Bubble is saying, fun fact, evangelicals started organizing politically at first to preserve segregation in their institutions. Then they moved to abortion. Yep, that's one of many things. So, I just noticed that Bread of Life before the stream started said, "Hi, Armin and Susanna. Hope you have a great stream."
Oh, thank you, Bread of
That's so
Life.
sweet.
I hope she didn't think we ignored the message.
And well, no, then there was like later said, "I'm not going to be able to make it today."
Oh
She left that such a
no!
nice message, anyways.
I know, but I just want. I hope she saw that we are appreciating the message. Okay.
Now this
Sorry,
is
guys. No, I'm just saying sorry, guys. If you message us, you say something nice to us and we miss it, it's not by it's not we just missed it. We're trying to pay attention. Okay, but yeah, go
on. This is a juicy question. Secular Sakai is asking, given its etymology and historical use to refer to the often violent thuggy cult of Kali, worshippers in colonial India and robbers and murderers, should the English word thug be considered an ethnic or even ethno-religious slur? Same question for others. For other insulting words derived from tribal names such as barbarian and maroon.
Oh yeah, the word thug was like used for like. Do you know the history of this?
I looked it up like a year ago because I just learned it out of the blue and it blew my mind. Yeah, but basically, okay, so what I recall is that they were like essentially like highway robbers.
Yeah,
And
and they worship Kelly. So
yeah.
just remember, guys, every time you hear thug life, basically the history of that is that you're a follower of Kelly. Thug. Yeah, that is technically that's the roots, right? The word thug, the word thugs come from follow like the cult of Cali. So that gives the whole new perspective to what thug life means. Yeah. So
It's so interesting because in America, like thug is considered basically a racialized word, but not for the thuggy cult in the Indian subcontinent, but for like black men, young black men, right? So many people do consider it to be an ethnic slur, but not for the people who this like word actually came from. Um, what do you think about these words that come from basically like essentializing them to some group historically hundreds of years ago, and
I think
now
if lost, so if I think if it's lost its connection and it means something else, don't be sensitive about how we use
yeah,
words.
no, I 100% agree.
It's like, I mean, yeah. I mean, it means something else now. Who gives a crap what the roots were? The roots are irrelevant when nobody thinks of that when they use the word.
Yeah, like an infinitesimal minority of people actually know the origin of that word. Like
Hmm.
they're not using it to actually, when they say that word, they're not using it to think of a specific group and denigrate them the same way that words in
It,
like nowadays we when we have an ethnic slur like that's commonly identified as an ethnic slur, like you know it and you're thinking of a specific group when you say it, right?
hmm. I mean, it would be similar to saying like you shouldn't call us atheists because the word atheist was first used on Christians, and we're not Christians, so don't use the word atheist on us, right? Like technically, the word atheist was used originally on Christians by Romans because Christians didn't believe in the Roman gods, so they referred to them as atheists, right? So, given that the word was describing Christians, are we going to go to the roots and be sensitive about it? Like, oh, this means Christians before, so why are we using it on us now? Like,
Mm-hmm.
come on, like, really? Like, we know what it means now.
Secular
Oh yeah,
Zakai is saying thug life equals Kali for life, except using the Kali emojis.
yeah,
um,
yeah. But we should, guys, we should look at this on YouTube. On YouTube, it looks so cute. It's basically Cal. When we highlight it, it doesn't show here, but on YouTube live chat, is a cute little Kelly with her tongue out, going like this. Yeah,
blowing a raspberry.
yeah.
Bulbul is saying assassin is derived from a Persian tribe who used hashish and killed people. Nowadays, no one cares.
It's not. It's not Persian. It was Egyptian. Just because they were Shia, that doesn't mean they were Persian.
Yeah,
But yeah, Bobo,
they were a
almost right.
smiley.
They were Ismaili from the Fatimiyun Empire in Egypt. They were Shia. So because they were from a Shia, we had two famous Shia empires. One was the Fatimiyun in Egypt, and then when they were removed, we didn't have a Shia empire until the Safavid Empire came into power in Iran. But I kind of see why you might think they're Persian because they were Shia, and at that time Iran was Sunni. Did you know that Iran was Sunni for most of its Islamic history?
No, you always be throwing out all these Persian empires, and I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about history.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, Boba saying, "Oh, I thought that they were Persian. Thanks for the correction." I
okay,
mean,
but
they
the
were.
idea of using hashish to be a assassin is crazy to me. Like, I don't
I
know if
mean,
you've
that's
ever had
debatable.
hash, but I cannot function.
Okay, it's debatable. Like people are not sure about this whether the assassin refers to the hashish that they were using or not. Okay, so that's because of the close resemblance of it, they think that's what it means, and it could be because they use this so that they become, I don't know what it means, but that's debatable. I've seen some people disagree with that. Okay,
Mhm.
but yeah, it refers to those people, but then the word assassin came from it, assassin didn't originally mean anybody that goes and assassinate. It was referring to those groups of people. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um.
Um, this is a little bit more of a
Okay,
uh,
so somebody is saying as the Hashashins lived in the Almut in the Persian region. They lived in Syria. They lived in Egypt. They lived in Persia. They lived all around that area. They were active. They were like taking out the Knight Templars. They were taking out different kind of caliphs or like heads of states and stuff like that. They were active. They had they had centers. They have one of their main centers was in Syria. I mean, technically you could say Syria back then was Persia. Okay, sure. Fine. If
modern day
you
Syria.
Yeah, modern day in Syria. Fine, fine. If you want to look, I mean, what wasn't Persia back then?
The
Um,
glory of the Persian Empire cannot be contained by your measly borders, sir.
okay. So they were active
You
in
will
Egypt
arise
and in
again.
Syria, and in Syria and modern day Syria. And if you want to consider modern day Syria as, yeah, sure. Persia, they were everywhere.
Um. So, okay. Wait. Here. Okay. Speaking. Actually, this is a good segue because this is talking about the glory of the Persian Empire.
Mhm.
So Gage American gave a link to an article, which I didn't include the link, but it says this article stated that cheap Chinese goods is endangering the 2,500 years of Iranian artisans. Do they have a point? Or so the Gage American then starts to use a lot of, very descriptive language. Or are the continent stealing, opium peddling, imperious human traffickers? I believe he's referring to the United States. Are they trying to sow discord between the children of Kaveh the blacksmith and you the engineer? I believe referring to Iran and China. For surely the inheritors of the legacy of Khosrow Anushirvan, the immortal soul, Dagger, the dispenser of justice, and Wu Zentian, the golden Dharma wheel, child of. Wait, it just goes on and on.
I don't know but what is the question? Can you explain it to me? I'm confused.
Okay, wait, let me pull it up. Um,
By the way, before you read this question and you explain it to me, I think like there is Bobo was more correct than I. Okay, so it's true. It's Persia. It says the mountains of Persia and Syria. So
oh
given that
my
it
god.
says Syria, Syria doesn't seem to have been part of Persia. So Syria and Persia, however, it was under the Fatimid Caliphate. After the succession crisis within the Fatimid Caliphate, which is that one, the Fatimid. Okay, I keep saying Fatimiyun. It says that it should be the Fatimid Caliphate. I'm correcting it. Okay, I just want to spread misinformation there. So it was under the Egyptian Caliphate, but they were active in Persia and Syria. Okay, so Bulbul was more correct than I. All right, never mind.
Okay. Oh, by the way, Abe Saleh donated $5. Thank you for the $5 donation, Abe. And thank you to everyone in the live chat alerting us to that. So back to Asian Americans' questions. Basically, he's using a lot of euphemism and funny words in a long way to ask, what's with Chinese goods threatening Iranian artisans? Is there a point to people raising concerns about this? Are they correct, or is this people sowing discord? I think it's true.
They're not okay. I mean, they're just competing,
Mm-hmm.
and they're making higher, good quality stuff at a cheaper price. I think
It's not
when
necessarily
they,
higher quality. They can make it cheaper than the rug makers in
I
Isfahan that do everything by hand, and it takes years to build a rug.
okay, they're making rugs using machines that are people have a hard time telling the difference between them than handmade carpets. So they're doing a good job and making. I mean, if you can't tell, then they're doing a good job. Okay, I mean, I think this is a whole bunch of racism. Maybe this whole idea of cheap. People use the word cheap as if it's not as good, but cheap means they're being more efficient. Cheap means they're managing to do it at a lower cost.
What does that have
And
to do with
if
racism?
no, because this is like a lot of Iranians are becoming like, and they're looking at, instead of, they're hating
Mhm.
everything China. All right,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying that this is the game, this is the market speaking. Okay, if you can't compete, then stop crying about the fact that the game is being, you're losing the game because somebody is doing better than you. Okay, if you don't, I know, if you hate the game, don't play, right? What is this saying? What is saying about hating the game? Don't hate the game, something's
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
exactly. Exactly. or if you, yeah, so something like that. This is how markets work, right? They're coming in, they're being more efficient at you making your own product, and they deserve the share of the market for succeeding at doing so. So what is the problem here?
Because people are very sentimental and nostalgic, and they're saying like, oh, this is killing the traditional artistry, the artisans, this whole thousand years of tradition.
Who
Yeah,
gets
you
to
have
decide?
no emotional connection to
Okay,
that, but there are a lot of people who do. They
okay.
really
You know
really
who gets
love
to decide?
preserving these things.
You know who gets to decide what gets preserved and what gets to replace what was there before?
The market,
The customer.
also that. Well,
If
yeah.
the people with their wallet, they vote for what stays and what goes. If what you like is not being voted for, what are you gonna do? Like, more people don't think like you. If they did, they would buy what you want to be preserved. What are you gonna do? You're gonna force them to buy something they don't want? What is the solution? To, like, instead of letting the people decide what they want to buy, to get like governments involved and not provide them with options so that they choose by force what you want to preserve?
No, they could subsidize the traditional artisans, but that's not something I
So
advocate.
taxpayer money
Yeah, exactly.
taxpayer money be used to artificially increase the demand for something that people are not organically voting with their wallet.
I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying it's an idea.
Yeah.
Asian
I mean,
American is saying, may the disharmonizers be smut by Ali Zulfikar and Star River Marshall's nine-tooth iron rake.
No, so secular Sakai saying capitalism better than culture confirmed. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if your culture is popular, capitalism will spread it. And if people want your culture to spread more, they would vote for it with their wallet. Look at South Korean culture. It's taking over the planet. It's now competing with American culture in exporting of culture. That's how popular it is. Because instead of crying like, well, yeah, people not, they just produce something that the whole world is like, yes, please give us more of that. Thank you very much. Give us more K-pop or Korean movies or TV series. Instead of crying about it, they actually produce something that people want. No artificial push needed. Capitalism is spreading South Korean culture across the planet because it's just good.
Consider all this. I'm glad you guys got your YouTube funding. I promote you on Twitter. Well, thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Consider all this. That's very nice.
You need to do that because we can't, because we've been wiped out of YouTube,
We've
out
been
of
banned
Twitter.
from Twitter. Actually, that's a good reminder, you guys, to subscribe to our newsletter because we never know where we will be banned next. So you always know where to find us if you subscribe to our newsletter. Link in the description. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Secular Sakai is asking, if any Islamic nation manages to become fully secular and democratic with a population that openly accepts all type of non-Muslim citizens as full societal equals within the next 100 years, which do you think it might be?
100 years? It's really hard to predict what's going to happen in 100 years. Almost impossible.
Fair enough, but given how things are now,
Saudi Arabia might crash because of
true.
oil prices falling, and so maybe from the ashes of what is left after Saudi Arabia crashes, something truly secular democratic might rise. But you don't know what could rise out of ashes. It could also be the other way around. I'm just saying, like, that could be.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is a big if. This is a major contingency. But if the regime falls, I think it could be Iran.
Secular democracy that is at peace or continuous war?
That just is secular, democratic, that accepts all types of non-Muslims, or maybe just different types of Muslims, non-Muslims and different types of Muslims.
Wait, I
as
got it.
equal
It's actually
equals.
UAE. It's UAE. Never mind. It's UAE.
Why UAE?
Because it's just too dependent on international trade that it's so motivated to get there. Probably UAE, I don't know, or maybe Kuwait.
Oh man, Kuwait has a whole lot of problems though.
I know, but the motivation to get there is high, and the
Yeah.
barriers, they don't have the two holy cities in them as a barrier on a whole bunch of Wahhabis. Like Saudi Arabia has the motivation to get there, but it has a huge percentage of the population, not majority, but still a significant percentage of the population who are and the Islamic world, who would be very interested in not letting the two holiest cities to be fallen under secular democracy, right? So that's what Saudi Arabia has against it. But the UAE and Kuwait are very interested into being part of the world liberal order, given how much they depend on trade and tourism, and they don't have those barriers, and they have leaders who are more capitalist than Islamic, right? So,
What do you think about Malaysia or
oh,
Indonesia?
Qatar also has that potential. Okay, Malaysia and Indonesia are already kind of there, but they're moving gently in the opposite direction. So
I know the population is actually like seems pretty Islamized.
Yeah, so like the problem with Malaysia and Indonesia is that they're way ahead of everybody else, but we're talking about things changing in the 100 years, and in the short term, they seem to be gently moving in the opposite direction of where they should be. So that's why we're not considering them. So like if we give them a score of I don't know 60, and we're giving this like UAE and Kuwait a score of 30. The problem is they're going from 50 to 49, and they're going from 30 to 31 and 32, right? So we're trying to figure out based on trends where people are going to be in 100 years. So it's difficult. It's so difficult to predict these things. Tunisia and Morocco are also way ahead, but gently moving in the wrong direction. Especially Tunisia's democracy was just recently challenged extremely. I don't even know if we could call Tunisia a democracy right now. It's debatable. The last of the Arab Spring countries was turned into a failure. So we had, like, when it came to the Arab Spring, we had no positive results except Tunisia, which turned into like a functioning democracy. And now that with that falling as well, we could officially say that the Arab Spring was a 100% failure. Other other than maybe its long-term benefits from popularizing dissent, maybe other than that,
I mean,
if you
France
look at,
wasn't, you know,
yes,
prosperous in the way that they were. The nation we identify as France now didn't really come into existence until over 100 years after their revolution. So
yeah. So people are saying what happened in Tunisia, arguably a coup. I don't know if you guys are following.
I think definitely a coup. Like I think it's 100% a coup.
Yeah, democracy has stopped. Like the parliament and the constitution was violated. And basically, the president just took over, and it's a semi-dictator now, right?
The
Anyways,
reason why I said Iran is because I know how liberal a lot of the population is and how much they really want change. But honestly, I'm worried that if the regime does fall and that another form of governance comes in its place, I actually worry about the well-being of Muslims.
so the problem with Iran is that out of the 80 million people living there, um, hold on, let me see what percentage. Potentially between, I don't know, between 1 and 16 million of them is okay. let's be honest, around 16 million of them supports the Islamic Republic of Iran based on stats.
Which is
Okay,
way more than you need to maintain that state.
yeah, but out of this 16 million, I think it's easy to say at least 100,000 of them are willing to die for maintaining an order that is supposed to be the representative of Imam Mahdi on earth, right? Like, I think out of 16 million of them, more than a million of them would say they would, but let's say at least 100,000 of them actually would. Okay, so keep that in mind, and also realize that ISIS at its peak had only 40,000 members, right? So this would be a a militia group double the size of ISIS, way more funded, way more trained in warfare, and way more connected around the Middle East. So even if you have a secular democracy, even if you bring secular democracy in Iran, I don't think these people are just going to be pack it and go home and be like, oh, okay, I guess we were voted out and we have secular democracy right now. I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't think they're just going to let things be. And remember, ISIS managed to like almost bring both Iraq and Syria to its knees. Imagine what a group like that could do. So that's why, yeah. So that's why I don't know if that's possible. Anyways, but basically what I'm saying is that if the Islamic Republic ever falls and people bring secular democracy to Iran, I'm still not going to Iran. I'm still staying away for good. Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
Okay, let's go to the next question. Mario is asking, if you could time travel to any point in time, when and where would you like it to be? And suppose that if you died there, you would simply return to the present. This is such a tough question.
In the future, can I go in the future?
It says any point of time.
Okay, I will definitely pick 2,000 years in the future.
Any particular location in the future?
God damn it. Probably the US or somewhere. Maybe Europe, somewhere in Europe. Where would be the most stable? Would we still be on Earth? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't. Okay, actually, I don't know. Maybe I'll pick somewhere on Earth, and I realize that humans have packed up and leave like 1,000 years before. Okay, I can't be too far in the future. It has to be enough time in the future that I know that I could reasonably be sure that humans are still on Earth and they haven't packed up and left. Right? So maybe like, oh yeah, actually, maybe only I want to make sure that it's enough time in the future where I'm almost sure that immortality has been achieved, right? But also not too far in the future where I don't know, like that, because I have to pick the location. I don't want to make too far that I like, oh my God, I'm here and I'm abandoned. I'm going to die from starvation right now because there's no humans here. So maybe 200 years in the future.
Interesting.
In somewhere in Europe.
Cool.
Yeah.
There's part of me that's very interested in like ancient Greece, but it's part of me feels like that's very like basic. I don't know. Can I continue to travel multiple places?
Why would you go into the past? If you travel into the future, you could achieve immortality.
Because that's what I want to go check out.
Why? Okay, things were not that fun back then. You can't be you're not going to be able to travel around. You're going to be able to just see one city, and if you want to go see the next city, you're going to have to travel for years or months.
I know. Well, here's the thing. Maybe you don't go too far back in the past. I was thinking, I don't know, it'd be really interesting.
You have no internet, you have no entertainment, you're not going to have running water, you're going to smell like crap all the time, you're not going to have access to much diverse food, you're not going to miss sushi, you know, you're not going to be clean most of the time. You don't have toilet paper. You're
I
not
know.
going to
I was
have
also
toilet
thinking of not
paper.
going that far back. Like, it also would
Huh.
be very interesting for me personally to go
How far back?
in the Bay Area 60s and 70s would be fascinating to me.
You don't have internet. Can you survive without internet?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Tell me how it goes. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be fun for 1 year. You're like, oh my God, this is so cool. 1 year later, it's normal. And then you're like, I want my Wi-Fi, please. I'm like, you're going to regret it really fast.
Okay.
Okay.
Just kill my dreams.
Just here's the thing: if you go to the future, we will eventually be able to recreate all of that upon in a virtual reality, better versions of it, and you get to control things. Okay, so you want to experience, I don't know, ancient Persia? Okay, we got that. In the future, we have all of that. We will recreate the glorious Persian Empire, and you get to be the emperor. You get to be the king or the queen. Okay, so why would you go in the past, where you probably die from disease 2 years after you land, when in the future you get to experience it with all of that, the glory of everything you want in history, in a virtual world, from safety and without any discomfort? I'm very passionate about this.
Yeah, I can tell.
Okay. Oh, you got cut. Oh, Susie's time to be cut for a second. Okay, let me see.
Okay.
Oh, wait, you're back.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Okay, so next question is from Oxymoron, and this is kind of directed towards me. How bipartisan and independent is USRIF with haphazard choices like the pushing for the recognition of the Armenian genocide or the Rohingya genocide, but choose to remain silent over the Bangladesh genocide? Or or ignorance towards Ukraine for its activity through the Azovs, but Russia is kept under watch list for possible violation of religious freedom past invasion. Possible violation of religious freedom. I'm not sure what you mean by that last part. So, for those who don't know, Oxymoron is referring to the United States Committee on International Religious Freedom. It is a bipartisan or nonpartisan, no, I think technically bipartisan, committee that is a part of the State Department that makes recommendations to policymakers and legislators and the State Department itself about issues concerning religious freedom. So a lot of it is work that monitors other countries, and they have an annual report. Um, and they talk about, and they also have classifications and designations for the severity of the violations going on in different countries. So in terms of how bipartisan and independent it is, my understanding is that there are different commissioners in that lead USRIF, and they kind of have different kind of genres or fields within the committee itself, and that there are only specific other designations within the government who can make the appointees for these designations. So, like, the Speaker of the House can nominate 2 people for 2 of these commissioners. A different government body can designate 2 people for the commissioner. The president can pick one person or a few people to go in. So that's supposed to make it more less politically dogmatic, like, because theoretically there would be people from different parties in these different areas, and then making the recommendations or nominations for commissioners. What you were saying about, like, choosing the Rohingya genocide over the Bangladesh genocide, that's a difficult topic, because I think part of what it is the work, and I could be completely wrong. I think
Rohingya.
part of
Didn't
what
say
it is,
Armenian. I think Armenian. Oh,
and the
Rohingya. It
Rohingya.
does say. Okay, okay.
I think part of what it is that activists have pushed to raise awareness about government within government officials and within government bodies to make these specific genocides or crimes against humanity like a political priority. The Armenian genocide being a huge one. Like the Armenian American community pushes really
Isn't
hard
it?
politically for recognition of this. So
It
I don't know if there is enough political willpower to even get the Bangladesh genocide recognized. There should be. There should
wait.
be.
I think that no. I think. Does anybody deny the Bangladesh genocide?
No, but it's different for a government to take the official position that they are recognizing this genocide.
I think
Like,
maybe the reason why they're
formally
focused.
recognizing the Armenian genocide is different than just like general awareness of it. And the Bangladesh genocide is called the forgotten genocide for a reason.
Okay, but no, the reason why they're not pushing on that one is because it's officially recognized as a genocide, and I don't think, maybe I'm wrong about this.
By
Correct me
who?
if I'm wrong. Everybody refers, it's officially recognized as a genocide. Maybe the reason why they are doing that is because they're focusing on the Armenian genocide is because it's challenged as a genocide.
Mm.
Like I think the Bangladesh genocide is worldwide recognized as a genocide, and they don't seem to be needing to push upon that because because it's not being challenged. I mean, the genocides they are focusing on is the ones that are being challenged. Maybe that's the reason. Have you ever seen, like, look, everything I check yeah. Have you ever seen anybody denying the Bangladesh genocide as a genocide?
No, Armin, I'm not talking about denial of this. I'm talking about the government position.
I know, but why would they focus on making sure a genocide that is officially recognized everywhere as a genocide? Maybe the focus that they're spending their time and resources in getting recognized the genocides that people are trying to challenge. That's what I'm saying. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's not simply about
Yes.
public awareness. This is like this is a state decision, and I just looked it up. The United States doesn't officially recognize the Bangladesh genocide.
Well, because maybe they don't need to, because everybody knows it's a genocide. Anyways, that's what I think. Maybe.
No, I don't think that's how this works at all. I don't
Okay.
think the recognition of the Armenian genocide is simply because people
Okay, never mind. Everything I said is wrong. If what Oxymoron is saying is true, Oxymoron is saying Pakistan denies the genocide.
Of course they do, because they perpetrated it.
Okay. So if there is active denial, then you're right. There needs to be a push. Okay, so I'll take everything I said back.
Think about how the Uyghur genocide is treated. Like, it's not simply to raise awareness. Like, there is a concerted state interest in recognizing the Uyghur genocide because of a contentious relationship with China. Like, it's not simply altruistic as much as I would like it to be. Let's be honest.
Okay, so I was just thinking out loud, and I was wrong.
Well, sorry to get so heated on this over you. And let's be honest. In terms of the Bangladesh genocide, probably the main reason why the United States doesn't recognize it is because of how we treated Pakistan during that genocide, gave them favorability, how we continue to unreasonably side with Pakistan, and we've historically sided with Pakistan.
Okay, so if this is
maybe because of our own complicity in the Bangladesh genocide.
Okay. So if what you're saying is true, then the first part of the question is justified. However, I don't think the second part of the question is justified at all. The as of situation, you're describing it as Ukraine. As of is not Ukraine, it's part of Ukraine. Every country has its problematic people, including Ukraine. So I don't think it's like saying, I mean, yeah.
Well, now that the Azov battalion has been integrated into the Ukrainian military, they are now part of the state, capital S.
It's desperation, maybe. Like, for example, if somebody is shooting at my house, and I just happen to have a Yahtzee. Again, I'm saying Yahtzee because you to be sensitive with what the word I need to be using. Anyways, you know what I'm saying. Okay, I just
Yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
want to trigger the algorithm. If people are shooting at my house and there happens to be a Yahtzee happens to be in my house, and he wants to also pick up a gun and defend the house because he's in the house, I'm not gonna be like, no, you're a
That's not going
Yahtzee.
to be the exact moment
Yeah, I'm
you
not gonna
bring
be
it to
like,
that Yahtzee.
yeah, I'm not gonna be like,
You're
yeah,
defending me for now, but when we're done here, we're going to have some problems.
yeah. When I think this is a problem that needs to be addressed after when you're defending a territory. I don't think I could blame Ukrainian government right
I
now.
need all the help I can get right now, but
Yeah,
dang.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
think
it's nothing
it's
is this simple, apparently.
understandable. Yeah.
And Oxymoron is saying, I just want to say that these bodies are not academic. That's true. The body is not academic. They do use academics for the constructions of many of their different reports. I've spoken to one of the authors of like the Usurous Blasphemy report, and they do use standards that would, meet peer review standards in academia. Um, but yes, it's not technically academic, and technically it doesn't go through a formal peer review.
Mm.
Um,
And Secular Sakai donated $10, so we should
yes,
ask.
thank you for reminding me. Thank you for the $10, Secular Sakai. That's so kind.
So we should ask his question. Oh, Susie froze. So let's just
Yes,
count.
he's
Oh, wait.
asking, have you guys heard about
Yeah,
the
wait,
death
wait.
penalty?
You froze for a second.
Can you hear me?
Ask. Yeah, now we can. Go on.
Okay. Secular Sakai is asking, have you guys heard about Texas trying to pass a bill with the death penalty for illegal abortions? So no, I haven't heard about this latest iteration of it. They've tried to make abortion a murder and the death penalty for it like multiple times before. So not entirely, but now given everything that's going on with the Supreme Court and HB8, it carries like a whole different level of gravity.
Is this
I'm not a
real?
legal expert, so I don't. They constantly try to pass this kind of stuff. They like do this in Mississippi. They do this in Alabama
Okay, you got frozen again, Susie.
all the time.
Okay, given that Susie is broken, and I want to just
I'm
mention
broken.
okay, you're back. You broke, live chat. You broke Susie. Are you happy now? Look what you did. No, but this is consistent though. The death penalty for illegal abortions, like I can't. It's crazy, but
It's
it's
very
also,
ironic because these are the
but
pro-lifers.
yeah, but it's at least consistent because they say like, because a lot of Christians, yeah, they tell you like, oh, every life, they also want think like killing fetuses is murder, and then you're like, well, do you think do you have to have the same punishment for abortion and killing a born human? And they say no, and like, well, how do you explain that inconsistency if you think it's basically the same as murder? And they're like, but these, you see where consistency in religion gets you. It gets you violence. Okay, if you want to be consistent with your religion, you get violence. So that's why you need to get rid of religion, because you either have to be stupid with your religion or violent with your religion. But yeah,
I
go on.
actually know some pro-lifers who are very consistent in the opposite direction, where their pro-life activism is not only about against abortion, it is also about quality of life and is also against the death penalty. And they're like some of them are like secular pro-lifers, so it's
But they would
way more
still,
holistic. I
okay.
find it
Forget
fascinating.
the secular ones. They're insane. But I'm talking because it makes no sense. A fetus is worthless. You could do with it whatever you want. But even from that perspective, even if you're not for the death penalty, because you still have to, if you think a fetus is the same, has the same value of a born human, you would have to agree that abortion has to lead into the same punishment that you have for murder of an adult.
Yikes. Things are, well, we're going to talk about the Roe v. Wade leak on the news this week, so make sure to tune in 2 days.
Oh
But
yeah.
things are going to get worse in America before they get better. That's for sure. And it is not fun. Um, so let's ask this question by Secular Sakai, saying the Romani are the most well known by name, but only one of several uh, itinerant European ethnic groups, part of the umbrella classification known as travelers. There are also the Pavis, Scottish Highland travelers, Yenish, and others. They all have unique cultures and languages, but usually have similar negative reputations and are associated with nomadic lifestyles and crime. How can a mutual trust be established between their communities and outsiders? Um, this is tough because I watched some documentaries about these communities, and I mean, this is like, in Europe and India, like there are all these little microcosmic communities that are nomadic, and I think it's difficult because part of their cultural identity is to be transient. So when governments have attempted to make them sedentary, it just fails miserably, and then they have a lot of really negative social outcomes like substance use or just like deepening poverty, or illiteracy and child marriage. Like, it just, yeah, it's rough because their entire cultural orientation is surrounded by this idea of a nomad lifestyle. And so to try to take that away from them is really taking away like a core in group identifier. Um, and it's tough because, like, if you are a transient group, like, you're not able to build more connections with outsiders. You're not, because you will leave, or they're very temporary. Um, and oftentimes they're seen as very invasive to other people's spaces, like, oh, they're just coming to live in our parks, or they're coming to, live on my property, and they don't obey like our laws. And um it's difficult because a lot of these communities are very impoverished because their nomadic lifestyle isn't economically viable the same way that it used to be back when we were like an agrarian society, or more societies were just generally nomadic. And so they are just, I was watching a documentary about, technically they're a nomadic group in India called the Gardia Lohar. And I was just thinking about how this group is destined for impoverishment because they will not stay in any place long enough to educate their children up to parity. And they have essentially no competitive skills in the marketplace, and their inability to build roots where you can accumulate wealth in any given location. Like, you need to stay in one place to be able to really accumulate generational wealth, because you're investing in one area, you're investing in a place, you're building the connections there. Like, I really can't think of like a way to progress the quality of life for a lot of these groups, because then when you do try to make them sedentary, it destroys their social fabric. um it's really sad and tragic. um and then a lot of people are like, no, we don't want to make them sedentary because that's destroying like their traditional way of life, and you're destroying their cultural heritage. It's like a more nostalgic um impulse, which I don't think really serves people who are going through that to the
What
best of their ability.
nonsense.
It's difficult. What do
When
you
when
what do
pre-
you think of the whole situation?
well, I mean, you seem to be a lot more informed about this than I am, so I don't. I just want to comment on the last part you said. Like, it's amazing. People want to. It's amazing to me when people care about preserving culture more than they care about improving people's lives. When preserving culture comes at the cost of people's lives, then screw your culture. Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of this impulse almost towards like saving an endangered species. Like this is a way of life that's from the past, and the evils of modernism are destroying their vibrant culture and their social well-being. And it's the last nomadic group, like we have to save them and like keep their way of life, but it might actually be their way of life that's maladaptive, deeply maladaptive. It's not meeting the needs of the society nowadays. Like I really don't know how to fix a problem like that.
Yeah, Gage in American has a solution.
Asian American is saying, when we move into space, they can move around in space, mining the asteroids and delivering foodstuffs between colonies. Perfect.
Perfect.
Fixed it. um that didn't really answer Secular Sakai's question. It was more about social integration, but I went off in a different tangent. I don't know, something I was thinking about. Um, okay, this is a very different question. Um, Asian Americans asking, in the past week, I lost a father figure in everything but genetics. Due to the Shanghai lockdowns, no one was permitted entry into the city. Armin, how did you cope with losing a loved one thousands of kilometers away? Are there any rituals you still observed from your time as a Muslim?
Okay, well, I didn't. She came to Canada to die. My mom came to Canada. I couldn't go to Iran to see her. She wasn't supposed. When my mom got cancer, she wasn't supposed to leave the hospital. But she wanted to. She wanted to die next to her sons, her family. So she, even though she was told that she can't leave the hospital, she did leave the hospital, and she came to Canada, and she died right next to me. Um, Shortly after she left the hospital because she wasn't supposed to. Um, but she was happy. She was happy with the fact that she's dying next to her family, right? Like she didn't want to keep going, uh, to stay in Iran in the hospital for the just for the sake of increasing the time and then potentially dying without seeing me. So I didn't have to go through that. So, um, you know, so sorry that you did. I'm so sorry about that. Like, that's so horrible. When it comes to coping, I didn't. I mean, I think like, and I don't think. I think trying to cope means, to me at least, it seems like it means that resisting unhappiness. And I think the solution is to just let yourself be unhappy instead of fighting it. I think the solution is to just accept the sadness. Like people when that's what I know you might say like people mean something else, but I think like just to me it seems like a lot of people when they're trying to cope is that they're dealing with a whole bunch of misery and sadness, and it's so tough on them that they want to find ways not to experience it. And I think the actual solution is to know that this is going to be tough for a while and that you have to experience this and you have to go through the sadness and misery, and this is how it's supposed to be. You like, why would it be otherwise? You just lost somebody that you love. There is no coping, just go through the sadness, and when you accept that, you will go through it faster. I think trying not to experience the sadness makes it more difficult for you to express it, and then and the lack of expression of that sadness means that it will be like you will internalize it. I think the expression of it, by not trying to cope and expressing it, the expression of it will become a coping mechanism itself. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
something, I don't know if that makes any sense.
I think it does, but so Gation American is saying, apologies for the misunderstanding. No, like we're sorry for your loss. I accepted the unhappiness already. He taught me Chinese chess and how to write the letter E. I think when people refer to coping with grief, they don't mean any trying. I think they mean like not letting it consume you, experiencing the sadness but not letting it consume you.
What does that mean?
Um, drive you into a depression that you cannot get out of. Because most people go through a depression when these things happen, but to a level that you cannot get out of it. About some resilience to, even while you are fully accepting and allowing yourself to experience your grief to your fullest extent, having some internal mechanisms to lift yourself up to some degree, but not in a way that is trying to deny your felt experience of the pain.
Okay, so maybe knowing that this will end will help. Like reminding yourself that as horrible as this feels right now, it's not a permanent feeling, and it's a feeling that you have to go through. But maybe the fact that trusting that this is definitely not a permanent feeling, maybe that will help. So like, there's no way out of this. I'm going through this hell right now, but there's light on the other side. Like it will, you don't know how long, because when you're in the middle of it, it seems like this is a permanent feeling and it's just going to be there forever. It really is. Sometimes it really feels like this is a forever feeling and my life is miserable forever. Okay, but maybe that will help. No, like based on everyone's experience, at certain point in time, you're not going to feel like this anymore, and this feeling of sadness as misery is going to pass. So knowing that might help. What about, is that a good advice?
Yeah, I think so. I think of something that Rivka would tell me. And I think this might come from a Jewish saying, I'm not sure. But it sounds corny, but I really think it's true. Like, may his memory be a blessing. Like, really think fondly about the good memories that you have with each other and write them down and honor them and cherish them. I think yeah, that can really, I don't know, help you just reflect on the joy that you brought to each other's lives, that you were able to in this short period of time that we're alive, and you got to be alive together. That's amazing.
True. By the way, anything I said is just what applies to me. I wasn't suggesting at all. I'm not a mental health expert, so I'm just sharing what I experience and what I feel and what works for me. So I'm not prescribing anything to you or anyone else. Okay, I'm just sharing my thoughts.
Well, this is a different question on a totally different note. Mario is asking, any thoughts on OpenAI's Dale? Maybe it's pronounced differently. Dale to AI that can take a description you write in a text and instantly create an accurate image of it. So I went to go look at this AI's website, and it looks really cool. It doesn't seem like it's something that's on the market yet. They just had kind of little examples of how this would work. But yeah, it was a really cool little piece of technology. So they had examples where you could click on different things you would write in a text. So it would be like teddy bears, no, a soup that is made out of the universe in a Andy Warhol style. And you could click around and switch it to be like an Andy Warhol style to like a hyper realistic style, like, and it would just auto generate these images to stylistically match all those things that you put out. See, I don't know, seems cool.
Okay, I'm not aware enough about AI technology to understand whether this is way above what we could already do with AI, or is it just putting together what we already can do with AI? Do you know what I mean? The difference? So, for example,
it
AI
seems to be some level of progression of what we can already do.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I think I need to be able to understand the significance of how big of a leap this is in the future. I think we need to. It takes more technical understanding of the mechanisms behind what's happening for us to be able to understand. Like, there's some things that will be so obvious that, oh my god, this is such a leap forward, right? But for this, I think like we need to know a little bit more, because based on no studying on what's happening here, it could be like, okay, well, AI could already understand what we're saying, and what we're saying could already be turned into commands. And if you just put these together, you get this, right? So, but maybe there's something more happening here that I'm not just aware of.
Mario was saying this is a breakthrough, and many artists on Twitter were actually scared, because if you can just say, oh, I want a drawing with all of these subjects and in this specific location and with this and with these details, and have a computer automatic and in this style, in the style of Leonardo da Vinci, and a computer can just automatically generate it for you. You don't necessarily need the services of an individual artist. If I was an individual artist, I'd be working hard to be, developing my own style, because if you have a very unique style, the AI won't, automatically or very quickly be able to replicate that. Versus Vermeer, like AI can already do Vermeer.
Right. Can they do blasphemous art?
Probably.
Okay.
Actually, they don't do adult content.
Well, that somebody better make another one that
can. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is pretty interesting. Asian American is asking, what are your thoughts on the General Assembly of Connecticut recognizing April 23rd as Sikh Independence Day?
What? Is that real?
Yes. According to WION News, this was done by the Sikh World Parliament, which is a Khalistani. I can't do Khalistani.
Yes, you can.
Independence
You know how
org.
to do the kha sound now. Why are you pretending like you can? Khalistani.
Khalistani.
Khalistani, easy.
Okay, it just takes a little practice. Khalistani. Okay. Could this be Democrats wanting to get in on the Wokistan vote, or is there an American conspiracy to partition India 2.0 for buying Russian arms? So
I don't know. Why would they do this? This is insane. Like, what? This is like not recognizing.
This is not a good idea. I do not support
this. Is a horrible idea. What the hell?
This.
Wait, is this true? Like, they are challenging the officially recognized borders of India?
No, I mean, they're just
That's what it comes down to. No, Sikh independent. Like, what?
They probably didn't know what they were doing.
No, okay. Am I misunderstanding this? Wouldn't recognizing Sikh Independence Day be an official challenge to the recognitions of the borders of India? Maybe I'm uninformed about what this means. Can somebody explain this to me?
Let me find man, a bunch of Indian Americans were freaking pissed about this, though. I'll tell you that much. Let me see if I can find some verbiage.
We need to defend India. I'm pro India on this. I'm pro recognition of borders. If this means what I think it means, guys, can somebody explain if that's what it means? Okay, hold on. Maybe I'll look it up.
Oh my God. Recognize April. Oh, this says April 29th as anniversary of the Declaration of Sikh Independence.
Yeah, you see, people are confirming they're separatists.
Holy.
There's official government in the United
States. This are separatists, but I don't know if specifically not.
You got broken.
It's a whole state. It's the whole state. Wait a second.
You got broken. You're broken. Come back.
Can you hear me?
Are you there? Okay. Yes, I can.
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. So, this is insane. This is insane.
Yes. Okay.
This is insane. I don't support this. This isn't like some city council. This is the entire state of Connecticut.
Okay. Is this even true? Can we officially? Because this is crazy. If this is true, is this actually true?
Yes.
Because if it's true, then we have officially government entity in United States supporting a separatist movement in India. That should be illegal. Why are they doing this? Why is there not a bigger backlash? Like, is WION misrepresenting this? Maybe they're exaggerating
No,
because this is
I'm looking
insane.
it up. There's like so many different citations.
Yes, and Secular Sakai is saying, "I'm surprised this didn't happen in Canada." Yeah, you would think this would happen more in Canada than United States.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
What is the motivation
this is
behind this?
really interesting. Here's a quote. This initiative is from a few fringe elements who have no interest in the state of Connecticut, but by promoting their own personal divisive agenda, said Thomas Abraham, chairman of the influential global organization of people of Indian origin, or GOPIO for short. Indian American community in Connecticut consists of Hindu, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, and Parsis. All of these communities live together as one Indian community, and Connecticut state has no business to comment on issues pertaining to local issues in India or supporting fringe elements. There are 20 million Sikhs living peacefully with all their communities all over India, and this citation goes against the integrity of India, said Ashok Nichani, president of the Connecticut of Jopio. Wow. No, this is insane.
I'm actually very, very pro the government of India right now over this. This is not like, oh, why did you say that this is bad? This should be illegal. Like the United States government is officially challenging the borders, the international recognition of the borders of India. There needs to be a response to this. The world's largest secular democracy is being challenged by its borders is being challenged by government bodies in the United States. Why there's not a bigger backlash to this? This is like Putin level stuff.
This is insane.
Like, am I exaggerating how big of a deal this is? Like, if I'm exaggerating, please tell me, like, Armin, chill, this is not that big of a deal, because it sounds like it should be a bigger deal.
It's not the entire United States government. It's not coming from the head. This is like, I don't know, some smaller Indian state said that we're recognizing the secession of Texas. Like,
that would be a big deal. Okay, that would be a big deal, but this is even a bigger deal because the United States government bodies are, like, anyways, supposed to be abiding by international law. Anyways, so people are saying, Secular Sakai is saying most Americans probably don't even know or care. Sadly, yeah, maybe people. Are you suggesting that they didn't know what they're voting?
I am inclined to believe that the people who approved this and pushed it through had no idea. They're like, oh, Sikh independence, that sounds nice.
Yeah, maybe they were just saying. Maybe they're thinking that they're just being multicultural. That would be the only. Maybe you had no idea what they're doing. Maybe like, oh, Sikhs Independence Day. Yeah, multiculturalism. Sure, let's have a day to celebrate that. Maybe that's why they voted for it. That would be the only explanation.
I too support independent Sikh women.
Yeah, the Asian American is saying it's not all of America, it's just the state of. I know, but it's still a bigger deal. That's why I clarified that you have official parts, government bodies, official parts of U.S. government recognizing a separatist movement. I didn't say the entirety of the United States. That's still a huge deal.
I need to do some
Morales is saying, is this Democrat supporting religious ethno-nationalism? It seems like it without knowing so. I don't know. Maybe they do.
Yeah. I mean, because that sure is what it looks like. Asian American is saying, imagine.
Oh, you got cut again.
Arunachal Pradesh recognized the Confederacy Independence Day.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Let me see if anybody disagrees with what we're saying. Oh, here.
Secular rarity is saying they probably thought they meant international seek Independence Day. Like we're seeking it.
No, that's a joke. Let's seek independence. Bobo is saying something here.
Yeah, Sikhs abroad are super into Khalistan. The movement is huge in Canada too, and Canadian cabinet ministers support it. Oh, I mean, it's on a whole different level in Canada.
Okay, no.
The
Okay,
Indian
there's one
consulate.
thing. There's one thing to. Okay, we have to consider. There's a difference. Okay, it's completely fine to push for Sikhs not being oppressed in India. Okay, so you're like, oh, I support the Sikhs in India. They shouldn't be oppressed. They shouldn't be like mistreated. Their rights shouldn't be like, let's protect their rights. You know, like whatever. Okay, all of that. If you want to push for that as a Canadian, as part of the Canadian government or the U.S. government, good. Okay, but when you support a separatist movement, or more transparently support independence, now you're on the side of challenging the borders of India, for crying out loud. Like, this is like, oh my God, this is Putin level stuff, like challenging the officially recognized borders of a country. This is why the whole world is uniting against Putin. Okay.
You're not wrong. It reminds me of a few months ago. So the Indian consulate is like in my city, and I was walking by the Indian consulate, and there was, it's actually like I walk by it a lot, and there was a Khalistani independence protest in front of the consulate, and I like ran over. I was like, oh, I need to go check this out. Like this is some juicy stuff. But then I got too scared to actually talk to them.
ABC saying they are the least oppressed people. I mean, sometimes it seems like that, given that nobody's dares touch, like
they
like,
unquestionably have like special privileges.
Yeah, people are like, can we have the hijab in the classroom? Like, oh, if we have the hijab, we should also have, like, I don't know, saffron color stuff in classroom. But don't be like, what about the Sikh turban? Like, no.
No one even talks about it.
Nobody, like, you don't. That is allowed everywhere at all times, anytime. Like, nobody challenges that. Yeah, so maybe you're right. There is a whole bunch of Sikh privilege going on in India. I'm not denying that they're also okay, but okay, it could be true that they both consist at the same time. You could have a religious minority that is both oppressed and has undeserved privileges. You know, these two things can exist at the same time.
Well, and also just historically going through massive like tragedy and abuse, like that can also be true.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, that was juicy. I'm gonna go like do some digging into this because I need answers. Okay, so let's go to the next question, and I think this will be my last question before I drop off.
Okay.
Oxymoron is asking, left/liberals are resistive to the Uniform Civil Code, claiming it has cursory agenda of imposing Hindu norms upon non-Hindus. Even if ill intentions of Hindu are assumed, are there any practical scenarios that exemplify that imposition of Hindu personal laws masquerading as Uniform Civil Code would lead to a regression of Muslim society? So for those who are not aware, in India, in terms of personal laws, which rule over things like marriage, rule over things like inheritance, a variety of other things. If you're in different religious communities, you have different laws that are available to you. So the religious community that you were born into, I think they're actually, you can, if you convert, then you can get your personal law that you are applicable or eligible for changed. But regardless, basically, there are different laws for different religious groups. And so there's a huge push to have a uniform civil code, partially for reasons like we were just talking about, because different groups have different privileges and there's a lot of inconsistencies. There's a lot of contradictions. And personally, I think it's absurd that you have no control over the religious group that you're born into, and suddenly different laws are available to you. that, like, I cognitively, I just cannot understand. um so there was, wait, a little bit more that he added to that. Okay, so then he also said Hindu personal law, which is applicable to Buddhists, Sikhs, Jains, even atheists who enter into marriage through the Special Marriage Act, are very similar to Christian and Zoroastrian personal laws. Sons and daughters enjoy equal inheritance. Age of marriage for men is 21, women is 18. By the way, I think the marriage age in India should be the same. Um, Modi plans to raise the age of marriage for women to 21 and plans to legalize polyamory. Okay, I don't know if the polyamory thing is true. We got overly excited about the polyamory last week, and I don't think it was true. Only one community stands out from these, and this framework exists just for this one community. I think by implication, you're referring to Muslims. There's little to nothing Hindu about the Hindu Code Bill. Mr. Nehru, by his own words, pushed Hindu Code Bill in an authoritarian manner against majoritarian parliamentary views because he believed it creates, quote, progressive Hindu society. When it came to Muslims, progressive liberals chickened out with excuses like religious rights and risk of another partition narratives. Okay, with all that being said, I do not know enough about Hindu personal law specifically to be able to say if it would infringe on other people's rights if it was applied to other people. Now, ideally, the Uniform Civil Code wouldn't just be Hindu personal law, but then just created for Uniform Civil Code for everyone, I think there should be like some overall integration or maybe just overall upgrade of the laws and norms. It's difficult. I think partially because of the current climate of like all the push against halal meat, in so many other ways in which Muslim public expression of Muslim life are being targeted across India. I think people just have a lot of anxieties about other expressions of being Muslim being disallowed. But I can't speak personally to if a Hindu personal law would actually regress Muslim society.
Okay, let's highlight 2 comments about this.
Oxymoron is saying, FYI, I am not huge on the Uniform Civil Code. I just find this assumption silly. It should be responsibility of Muslims to reform their society, not saffron.
Oh, you got cut again. Not saffron nights. Wait, what is saffron night?
Everyone be invested in the well-being of your citizens equally.
Wait, you got cut for a second. What did you say before saffron nights?
Oh, it's basically saying it should be the responsibilities of Muslims to reform their own personal law instead of like majority Hindus coming in and saving them through reforming a Uniform Civil Code. Why can't everyone be invested in the well-being of each other across the nation?
I think like the Universal Civil Code, maybe he means that it shouldn't have Islam appease Muslims by having Islamic standards in it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, but it shouldn't also have Hindu standards in it. It should neither have Hindu or like whatever. This the UCC will only work if it has neither Islamic or Hindu standards in it, and it just finally matures to be something fitting of a secular democracy and join the modern civilized world finally, right?
If I was an Indian national, I would have a vested interest in having the personal laws be applicable to all citizens regardless of their background, regardless of my own background.
Well, there you go. Here's the next comment.
Mario is saying there's also a problem using religions as part of an official identification, especially when personal belief is such a complicated issue and not always fits the options you have. That's true, which is why very conveniently and for political purposes, Buddhists, Sikhs, and Jains are fit under the category of Hindu. I think a religious identification on official documentation is also absurd.
Yes, it is. Also, I've seen it on resumes. That's also absurd.
Oh, that's so gross.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so gross. I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
Hire me.
Anyway,
I'm a Christian. I'm a
yeah.
good Christian.
I've seen in some countries when you put your religion on your resume, it's not to say that you're part of that religion. It's mostly to say what religion you're not in.
Eeg. There's also that.
Yeah.
There's also that.
Yeah.
Ay, Dios mío.
Mm.
Hijo de animal. Okay,
Okay.
well, that will be it for me. Thank you guys for a lovely day on
Well, tell people what's about to
Atheist.
happen. Here, I'll help you.
Well, Armin is about to, he just posted the link in
No, I
the
haven't yet.
community
I'm going to
tab.
post it here.
Oh,
I'm going to post
okay.
it right here. Because if I post it now, everybody's going to see it. But it's going to be on the community. So it's on the channel. It's going to be on the community tab. But it's also, see, I could put it public, but I'm not going to put it public. I'm going to put it all members. So it's going to be only visible to the channel members to come up and ask the questions if they want, if they wish. You know, sometimes that some people come up and sometimes not. But yeah, let me post the link right now.
I do have one quick thought about the Uniform Civil Code. My friends who are like themselves very liberal Indians have told me, like, even now to this day, if they tried to actually execute a Uniform Civil Code, like, the Muslim community would lose their shit and it would be really, 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 really ugly. So, like, there is
Well, don't. Okay,
there,
when you say it like that, you weren't being derogatory to YouTube. Might think like you're like trying to insult
no,
the
I'm
Muslim
saying that
community.
the situation and social
Yeah,
reaction would be
bad.
not good for a lot of people. Okay.
Okay, yeah,
And
but maybe like you're not saying it was unjustified because I'm just trying to protect this channel. Like you weren't trying to like be like say that Muslims are like more like I'm just trying to protect the channel. You weren't being derogatory in the way that you said that.
no, this is just an
Mm,
opinion that
mm. You don't know what I'm saying, but
this
yeah,
might be the reaction.
yeah, by many
And
Muslims, not all Muslims.
yes.
Okay.
So the point is that there actually does need to be a progressive movement within the Muslim
Mm.
communities before we can get to that place of uniform civil code. I think that's
Okay.
actually a point well taken.
Yes. I know you're. I know, but YouTube. You know, YouTube is sensitive, so I'm just trying to cover our ass. Okay.
No.
Just.
And to
I
be fair,
wasn't.
those are just the opinions of people. I don't know, but
Yeah.
still. The dancing we have to do. Lord.
Yeah. Oh,
Anyways,
wait. One more question
um
for you. By the way, I posted a link. I posted a link in the community tab. So ABC saying, "Hey Susie, have you watched Doctor Strange?" Well, Susie and I watched that first of Doctor Strange together, and we're waiting for the second one to come out soon.
it comes
I
out
mean,
tomorrow.
yeah, but it's not going to be available because we're going to watch it online together, right? So we have to wait for it to be available through other means. Okay. So yeah, we're going to wait for that.
Anyways,
Okay.
I'm excited to have members come up and I get to listen because I really enjoy it. And
Yeah.
yes, bye guys. See you next week.
Bye,
And the
Susie.
news in 2 days is going to be juicy.
Yeah. So Susanna is going to be in the background. She's probably going to be in the live chat listening. Okay. So I posted the link in case you remember. I'm going to hop over, but we still have patron questions that we need to get to. Okay. Cool. All right. It's gonna be all right. So Gasian American is asking, what are your thoughts on the what is this? Shawnee City Council. See, this is why I need Susanna. She knows more about these things sometimes. Voting 8-0 to ban unrelated people from living together as roommates. What the hell? Where is this place? Is this in the United States? Is this real? Sometimes I hear some of you guys asking questions and I can't believe that it's real. Like, is this real life? Okay, it says, should zoning laws be structured towards more dense housing for environmental reasons or family friendly? Um,
I'm coming
wait,
back because I looked into this.
Yes, you need to come back here. This is I need help with this. What is
So
it?
they banned unrelated from people. It's a ban on too many roommates. So
Oh,
unrelated people, you cannot rent to unrelated people above four people.
why?
I don't know. Maybe they think that people are trying to house too many people in one place.
Isn't
Like,
that what we need right now? Or like,
and
wouldn't this law
it's in
make
some
it more
tiny it's in a
expensive?
tiny city in Kansas.
People are laughing at your return. Like okay, okay, but that doesn't that make housing more expensive? Wouldn't you want for people who are desperate to find housing to find ways to make it more affordable?
Yeah. I have no
Like that.
idea how you I don't know how you enforce this either. I don't know how you enforce this.
I have secret
Johnny,
roommates.
Kansas City unanimously banned co-living in some zoning districts targeting unrelated roommates who split the cost of rent.
Why would you
Why?
do that? People can't afford their housing, and you're making it. Oh, let's yeah, be homeless. You can't afford a house. You don't want to share the cost with your roommate. What? S- Unbelievable. What is the reason? It's so
This
stupid.
just seems like it just like disproportionately targets tenants and anyone who's like struggling. Like I'll tell you one, oh my god, if this happened in the Bay Area, we'd be done for. We'd be done for.
I don't understand what the reason is. Can somebody explain the reason? What's the benefit from this? People be struggling. They need to find ways to reduce the struggle. I mean, it's not ideal, but if they have no other choice, yeah, you need more density. Right now, you need more density, not less.
Mhm.
Anyways, I don't know how zoning laws work, but if they're limiting this, then that's stupid.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
people live
there's
together to make housing affordable.
that's the main way they make housing affordable. That's the main way that people try to figure out how to like houses be expensive and they're getting more expensive. People are like, let's share the cost. That is the number one way to figure out how to not be homeless. And they're taking that away from people. Anyways, yes,
The
I think it's stupid.
I can't also
Guys,
seems like a price.
yeah, it's a privacy thing. Susie's cut. Susie be cut. Guys, donate to us so Susie could afford a better computer. She's poor. Okay.
Privacy thing.
Yeah, you're getting cut. So, yeah, it is a huge privacy thing. How would you investigate? Like, you have illegal people living in your house? No, I'm just. How about that? No, I don't live here. I've just been a guest here. How about you? How? What if you just define yourself as a guest, and we're like, we just don't know when he's leaving. Like, we invited him to stay, and oh yeah, you know what? Here's the solution. The solution is exactly the solution with prostitution. Okay, you don't pay for sex service. You just had sex, and you're buying her gift. Just not related. Okay, that's how you get around prostitution laws. So you could get around this law as well. You're like, he's not paying the rent. He just happens to be a guest, and this is a gift that he's just giving us gifts as a guest. Can't you do that? There you go. I solved it for you. You're
Mhm.
welcome. You're welcome. I solved it for you. Prostitutions are showing us the way.
Okay. With that,
Okay.
I'm leaving for real this time.
Okay, good. Well, not good.
Bye.
But Susie, get a better computer. Use the donation
I
money
know,
to
I
get
know.
better. Okay, okay.
I
All right, bye.
can't.
Guys, donate so we can afford Susie a better computer. Thank you. All right. Uh, Next question. Does a prolonged conflict actually benefit Ukraine? Oh, here's a good question. Okay. Biden is preparing a 33 billion aid plan, so it seems like the aid will keep coming while the Russian economy will be taking more and more damage as the conflict goes on. Okay. All right. So, oh my God, I have such a controversial take on this. I don't know if the world is ready. Oh my God, I might get destroyed for this. This is going to be one of my most controversial takes. Okay, so a lot of people think that Ukraine should just submit and not fight because it would be better to end this war rather than resist, right? Because Ukrainian people are suffering and Russian people are suffering. And even though this was an unjust war, why make it even worse? There's no way this war will end until one side stops resisting. And it's not, if it's not going to be the Russian side, it might be the Ukrainian side. Okay. Like constantly aiding Ukraine and making it more capable to defend itself is going to make more Ukrainians suffer. So that's the line of reasoning. Okay. And I'm not saying if that's true or not, but what I am going to say, which is going to get me in trouble, is that even though that is true, even though if that is true, we might have to, the world, it might be in within the best interest of the world for Russia to pay a bigger price. So even, oh my God, I'm hearing myself say this, and I know this sounds really bad, but I'm just thinking long term about this, okay? So even if a longer war is bad for the Ukrainian people, it's gonna make more Ukrainian people suffer and die. The long-term effects of this might be make it within the best interest of the planet. The consequences of taking an action like Putin did has to be significant, even if it comes at the cost of what I just mentioned. I just don't want to put that in words because it just sounds so insensitive. When you challenge the officially recognized borders, the internationally recognized borders of a country, we have to set a precedent that the consequences are so dire for other people. So if you think like what's happening to the Ukrainian people is bad, you want to make sure that other countries don't repeat the same mistake. So Russia needs to pay a big price. So if that means that Ukraine will continue to resist and the war continues and takes down the Russian economy with it so that it's incapable of doing something like this again, and other countries take note, then the benefit might outweigh the cost. Anyways, let me see how you're crucified. If anybody is like, so secular saying never surrender. So AB saying no, I don't agree with it. Horrible take. Bulbul, I will start your question to answer it later. So Oxymoron saying, actually, I used to think like that because I didn't expect Russia to fall so quickly. But if there is hope for winning, maybe Ukraine, maybe it should. Oh, but if there's, I think you mean there's no hope for winning, maybe Ukraine shouldn't. If there's hope for winning, maybe Ukraine shouldn't stop. There's an extra it there that made it hard to read. Okay, but what I'm saying is that even if there's no hope for Ukraine to win, Ukraine should not stop to increase the cost that Russia pays for daring to do such a thing. Blank Name is saying, but we can't sacrifice Ukrainian for world peace. People can't be treated as mere means to our end. You say it like that. I say it based on a utilitarian calculation. And I say first of all, you're not using them, they are deciding. So it's not like anybody is pushing them to do something they don't want. They are already deciding to do so, and you're just providing the means for them to do so. Your argument here would be true if they were being pushed into something against their will. And if that was the case, I would be against it again from a utilitarian perspective, because in that case, the first of all, it's not true. The ends always justify the means if the end is more benefits than costs. So when people say the means don't justify the end, that is wrong. It does. Okay. Sorry, the ends don't justify the means. That's wrong. If the end is good, the means are justified. But if you were using people the way that blank name is mentioning, the end would be bad because you were setting a precedent where people were being used against their will to do something that they don't want. And that precedent would normalize something, and that it would increase the cost of what you're doing significantly. And the normalization of that would be horrible. But that's not what's happening here. They're going to this war and protecting their land willingly. This is not about Ukraine alone. This is about fighting for the values that have made this planet a better place. This is about fighting for democracy. This is the team democracy versus team tyranny. And the consequences of this is beyond Russia and Ukraine. This is also about fighting for the recognition of the world liberal order that has made the world a much more peaceful place ever since World War II. And screwing with that has major consequences beyond the people of Ukraine, way beyond the people of Ukraine. And anybody who challenges that has to pay a huge price, or else world peace, the entirety of world peace, is at risk. I don't know if you understand the consequences of risking the order that the world has managed to come up with after World War II. Anybody who dares challenge it has to be crushed by all means necessary. Blank name is saying they should go back to negotiation with more arms and military power from US. That is their decision to make. And if they make the decision to keep fighting, then they should be supported with that. And I hope that they do. Okay? I hope they make Russia pay a bigger price. Again, when I say Russia, I am saying Russia, unfortunately. I'm not saying Putin. Okay? It's unfortunate that innocent Russian people also have to pay the price, but they have to pay the price because of the long-term effects of this. So the Russian people don't deserve this, but this is about protecting the world, not just Russia or Ukraine. Saying we are encouraging it. Yes, but you're not forcing it. That's a major difference. Okay, so we have YouTube members. You guys are deciding to post your questions here instead of coming. So, by the way, Mir Jalal and other members, if you want to ask your questions live on air, you could do that. But I see you're posting your questions here, so I'm going to highlight them. Secular Sakai is saying, "I hear what you're saying, but permission isn't good." What? Oh, pessimism isn't good for morale. They have a real chance at winning. Just no guarantees. Morale is crucial in their situation. Okay, well, it's not like they're gonna hear what I'm saying. Like, they have much more of a chance that we thought they do, right? But still the odds are against them. But they still have a chance. Obviously they have a chance. But I'm saying, even if the chance was zero, just for the mere even if the chat, like we now know that Russia can't take Kiev, but even if they could, even the putting up a fight was necessary. So say Bread of Life is saying, Armin, if torturing one baby helps save 200 people, does that end justify the means? So see, this is why you need to understand how utilitarian calculation works. Normalizing or accepting torturing babies have consequences beyond the lives of the 200 people. So if you say yes to that, you are normalizing the acceptance of torturing 200 babies, and a society that accepts that will pay a cost beyond the lives of those 200 people. The mere fact that people use these examples as an arguments against utilitarian calculations show that utilitarian calculations work, because most people will be shocked and not accept torturing one baby for the lives of 200 people. That means based on people's cost analysis, they will value a society that doesn't allow torturing a baby. So the negative utility that people will get from knowing that this is a society that accepts torturing to a baby, the misery from accepting that, the sadness that comes from accepting that is so high that a utilitarian calculation would not allow that. The mere fact that people use that as an example, the disgust associated with that, shows that not only it doesn't work against a utilitarian calculation, shows that the utilitarian calculations wouldn't allow that, because people are so hateful towards anybody who accepts that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. You're saying thanks for answering my question. Yeah, no worries. You're welcome. So whenever you allow something from a utilitarian perspective, you can't just think about the immediate effects of that. You have to also think about the costs of a society that allows such a thing, the consequences of a society that just accepts that as something that is allowable. Okay, cool. I answered that one. Okay, let's go with this one. What do you think of the East African Federation? I have no idea. An attempt by now 7 African countries to unite into. Okay, so you're telling me. Okay, good. So I'm learning something. An attempt by now 7 African countries to unite into a single super state. I am saying now because the Democratic Republic of the Congo recently just joined. Oh yeah, I heard about this one. I think a while ago, signed the treaty and became part of this project. Okay, so I saw in a video on YouTube that there was an attempt by the DRC to be part of this bigger group, and eventually become a country. I just didn't remember much of it because I just watched a short explanation of that a while ago. Do you think this will succeed? And if so, what does this mean for Africa and the world? I don't know enough about the details to be able to come up with an answer about this. The other 6 countries, by the way, are Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, and South Sudan. That sounds pretty amazing. Like, okay, so even if given that I don't know about the details, okay, the mere attempts at trying to get there, I'm assuming, will evolve. The project by itself will mean lesser barriers to trade and more cooperations between the country. So even if it fails, the fact that the attempt is there, even if you don't meet the goal, I think the process that's trying to get there will encourage a lot more cooperation and businesses and flow of migration and trade without barriers between the countries. So if it doesn't, so I'm guessing, which I don't know because I don't know the details, I'm guessing that even if it's a failure, it wouldn't be a total failure because the steps towards there will still benefit the countries. But if anything, that if we can we can tell that lower barriers. So when I say that the current borders of countries need to be respected and not challenged, I don't by challenge I don't mean I don't consider the challenge where countries get to eat with each other and they all agree with each other that this we could remove this border and become a country. Okay, like if it's all sides of all countries, negotiate with each other and they all agree to change borders together, that's not a challenge. That's just an agreement, and um, that's not against international law. They will all file within UN that now these are the new borders, and within the legal framework, we will have new borders, right? And if you manage to remove borders using that model, I think, and all countries consider this to be beneficial to them, and that could only be positive, right? Like this, we saw that with the EU, right? And I think encouraging that with more countries would be fantastic, right? On average, it seems like it could be a good idea. But again, it might be a horrible idea because I don't know about the details, right? But less borders, as long as it's completely voluntarily by all sides, is usually a great thing. Oh, Bread of Life just donated $10. Thank you so much, Bread of Life. That's very sweet. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's very cool. Did they come with a question or something? I did. Oh, thank you so much, guys. We have Christians, we have Muslim supporters, we have Christian supporters, we have Hindu supporters, we even have Hindutva supporters. Okay, so this is the last patron questions, and after that, I will go into some live chat questions that I starred. Okay, cool. Let me see. I will start this one as well. All right, let's read this. Wow, this is a big one. Okay, what do you think of the East? Oh, wait, I already read that one. Did I miss something? Did I miss a question? Susie, did I miss a question? No, I think this question was posted twice. Okay, so that was the last patron question. Let's go to Bobo. Opinions on the groomer panic. Okay, Bobo, are you referring to Republicans calling every type of sex education grooming? Is that what you're referring to? Because that is insane. And this, okay, well, we got another donation from Secular Sakai. Thank you so much, Secular Sakai. Thank you, Qassam, for highlighting it because I wouldn't see it if you didn't. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Wait, yeah, oh wow, donated $20. Secular Sakai donated $20. Thank you so much. Oh, you're so sweet. Okay, is that what Bobo means? Let me see if Bobo is mentioning that she means. She's not here. Okay. Yeah. So apparently, we already talked about this many times on live on air about the fact that it's very. I want to mention the hypocrisy of the people who mention this because their religion usually is the best weapon for grooming children. However, if I do that, I would be accused of whataboutism. That is not whataboutism because that is pointing hypocrisy. It's whataboutism if you try to justify something bad by pointing out to some other people's bad behavior, but it's pointing hypocrisy when you're not excusing one of them, but you're just pointing out the people who seem to be highlighting grooming are they themselves of supporting an ideology that is grooms children the most, right? And it's so insane where it's so hypocritical that they don't point to that as much as what they do, which is pointing to the most harmless education to children. Susanna mentioned things as simple as this kid story about two male penguins having an egg, or raising an egg, protecting an egg. Yeah, I know. Okay, like just to show that male partners could be together and raise a family with each other, right? So I mean, male penguins do that, by the way. I saw a documentary on that, like abandoned eggs. Two male penguins could bond together and share an egg with each other, and one of them go gets food while the other keeps it warm. The other one keeps it warm, right? So they're raising it. It's so cute and adorable, right? But you can use a story about that in nature to show, as a cute way to show kids in a kid story, that look, you could have families with two males, two fathers, right? And I think that's adorable. And imagine thinking that's grooming children. Grooming for what? Grooming for being accepting of people who are different. And if you look at like just any story or any mention of the fact that two women or two men could be with each other and form a couple, or any indication, any awareness of the fact that trans people exist, because it refers to people's sexual orientation or sexual identity, they use that as an excuse to say, like, oh, you're teaching about sex to children to potentially groom them. But the amount of sex that children would be exposed to with these material is the same level that they have always been exposed to about heterosexual relationships or cis heterosexual relationships, cis identities and heterosexual relationships, right? Like the same people had no issue with kids like watching Disney cartoons, like Sleeping Beauty, like when the prince kisses the princess. You know, there's an actual kiss between male and female, and children's watch that, and that's this is a heterosexual relationship, so it is about sexuality. Would that be grooming? Is that grooming children? I mean, Snow White could be about grooming, because I mean, Snow White is problematic. Okay, Sleeping Beauty, by the way, is not problematic, because a lot of people say Sleeping Beauty is problematic because the prince is kissing the princess and she's asleep, so she's not consenting. Okay, I'm sorry. Your consent is a secondary issue here, given that the entire kingdom is asleep. Okay, so we could apologize to you that we kissed you without your consent after, but we cannot let the entire kingdom to remain asleep just because you're not consenting. If it takes a kiss, you're going to be kissed, okay? But the Snow White scenario, I always say that is definitely problematic, okay? Because I've seen the footage. And the prince has no idea that that's wait, Snow White is like cursed or anything. The only thing that he sees is a random pretty woman, or maybe a girl. Actually, that makes it even more problematic. Like it, we'll take that. Let's forget that. A random woman just sleeping in the forest, and you just show up and you decide to kiss her. Okay, so where's the outrage over that? like if you have two male prince kissing each other, apparently that's grooming children and problematic. But if you have one male and one female kissing each other, that is not grooming. They don't consider that to be grooming. This is completely heterosexual privilege, even when one of them is sleeping and not consenting. Okay, Sleeping Beauty, I understand. You can't wait for the consent. There's a kingdom to save. But Snow White, you don't know she's cursed. She's just sleeping, and you just show up and you just kiss her. Like, what are you teaching? Where's the outfit? What are you teaching children? You don't need to ask a woman before you just kiss her. Like, maybe they should have, like, maybe the dwarves could be there and tell the prince that, oh yeah, this is cursed, and she could only wake up with your kiss or something. Maybe in that case, he was like, okay, fine, for the curse, I will do it. But he didn't know that. Susanna saying the footage, it's a cartoon. It's evidence. Okay. Saying I've seen the CCTV surveillance footage. Okay. Oh, Vikram, I already started that question. I will get to that. Okay. More live chat questions. Sparsha is saying, do you think Prophet Muhammad was mentally unstable? Which Prophet Muhammad? The historical figure or the character according to Islam? Because the historical figure, we don't know much about. We don't even know if his name was Muhammad. We know that Arabs united under the leadership of a man with either the name or the label or the title Muhammad. Okay? So that's how little we know about whoever that dude was. He wasn't even Muslim. That's how Muhammad, the historical Muhammad, was not even Muslim. That's how different Muhammad is from the character of Muhammad. Okay? So the character Muhammad, as described by Muslims, yeah, he was unstable. There's, but again, we're not talking about a real character, so yeah, he seemed pretty, like, the way that he's described makes him mentally unstable. But again, what does mentally unstable mean? I mean, is that like a? I mean, I'm not trying to say he was mentally ill. You don't have to be mentally ill to be mentally unstable. I don't know enough about recognition of mental illnesses to be able to diagnose a fictional character, because is Voldemort mentally? I mean, I'm not even able to recognize mental illness in a real character, let alone a fictional character, which will have different patterns, because writers are not going to be as good, especially ancient writers, at creating a character that is going to be consistent with his mental decision, with his or her decision making process, right? So when you create a fictional character that does so many different things, you might think like, oh my god, this person is so mentally unstable, it does so many different things. Well, when it comes to mental illness, it's impossible to diagnose a person, because it's not going to have any consistency that you would suspect from a real character. But when it comes to mental stability, most fictional characters, especially the people who are the center of the stories, are going to be more unstable than average people in real life, because that's how you create either because either you're trying to create excitement with the story, so you need some lack of stability, you need to have a roller coaster in your story, or because the writers of your story, especially if it's a religion, are multiple people. So think about, if you have many different writers contributing to what eventually becomes the story of Islam, how could you not have unstable characters, different people with different mental mentalities wrote what Muhammad ended up being? So how could Muhammad not end up being a mentally unstable character? Sergio is saying, was the character Muhammad even Muslim? Yeah. Based on the definition of a Muslim, you could say the character of Muhammad was Muslim. But the historical Muhammad existed at a time that Islam was not even a religion. So there you go. And the word Muslim was not even the word that was used to refer to the people who were followers of this cult at that time. They were referred to as the Mu'minun. I know the word Muslim is mentioned in the Quran, but it's mentioned in a way that it's not the same way that we use the word Muslim today. Yes, exactly. So you're saying Bukhari, Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, these are the two main texts, and also the Sirah of Muhammad, the stories, along with Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslims, are the main sources of what we know about Muhammad. And they're extremely biased. Exactly. And the level of detail of what we know about Muhammad based on these sources makes it pretty obvious that they are fake stories, because there's just too much detail. Enough detail to know that they're made up, right? Like, we don't know if Napoleon, what ring was he wearing when he lifted that cup when he was talking to the people, to his generals, right? But we know that about Muhammad. Like, we know, like, so much detail that is unrealistic about a historical figure, especially at a time, at the location that he lived, surrounded by people that mostly didn't know how to read and write, and they were not recording every action that he was taking, like, to that level of detail. A lot of Muslims assume that the high level of detail about Muhammad's story makes it seem like it must be true, but it's actually the opposite. The more details that you have, the more it indicates that these are made up, because it's impossible to have that much level of detail. Oh wow, this is nice. Secularity saying, man, Armin has been giving some great analysis this stream on a few different points, y'all. That's at least worth a damn like. Yeah, guys, like the stream, so that our channel grows a tiny bit. Okay, next question. Vikram is saying, thoughts on Armin's second debate with Destiny. I think it went very well. I think it started with seeming like we're against what we're saying, but then he accepted. Like, that's how my debate. I feel like I do better with Destiny than most people, because I think, like, most people, when they debate with Destiny, he doesn't agree with them and he crushes them, and he shows how they are wrong, and he's such a great debater. But I think when I start talking to Destiny, it comes across at first that we disagree, and he challenges me on it, and then once I get a chance to explain it, it usually ends with him agreeing to mostly to what I'm saying. So I think I've been doing a very effective, given how talented Destiny is in debating. It always ends, like, my debates with him usually have ended in a somewhat friendly agreement at the end. And I think, Vikram, you also mentioned that you think that you've noticed that it had an impact on how he challenges religious claims. I don't want to claim credit because I don't know, but you say that you notice. Whether I have any influence or not, I'm really grateful to see that Destiny is not letting religious claims just slide, and he challenges them. I still disagree with Destiny because he's a soft dualist, and I'm a hard monist in in the sense that I'm a materialist, like through and through. So, but that debate is not very. Those discussions does not have much utility over on our daily lives that much, and so I don't think it talking about those kind of metaphysical, debate discussions, it's mostly for entertainment, I think, because challenging religion is not challenging religious claims has huge effects on our daily lives, right? So I don't really think it's unless people really want to just be entertained with philosophical discussions, which is fine, but I don't really think it's worth that much spending too much time on it, or like it doesn't really matter if you're a soft dualist or a monist. But I still do have that disagreement with him. Oh yeah, Mirjal is saying, "Oh, did you have another debate with Destiny? Where can I find it?" Oh, it's on his channel. It's just search for I don't know, Destiny Armin Navabi. Maybe that will get it. Let me see if that will bring it up. Yes. Yeah. Okay. No, that's the 2 months ago. Okay. So the title of this one is "We Need to Both Chill. Atheism Debate Gets Unexpectedly Heated." So that's the title. Here. Let me show you on the screen if you want to see it. So this is my first debate with Destiny, and this is the second one. Okay. All right, let's go to the next question. Mirjalo is saying, "What is your opinion on the Florida's Don't Say Gay bill? Should children be taught sexually explicit content?" What is it sexually explicit? Telling people that gay people exist is sexually explicit? I don't agree with your framing of this at all, sir. What do you mean sexually explicit? No, the Don't Say Gay bill is ridiculous. Children, it should be mandatory. No, it's not. It shouldn't be allowed for people to learn about the existence of gay and trans people. It needs to be mandatory. It needs to be mandatory since kindergarten. What do you mean sexually explicit? Tell how. Okay, somebody explain to me how is the explanation of the existence of gay people sexually explicit? Do you at what age did you realize that the couples exist, that men and women form couples? You were aware of heterosexuality from a very, very, you didn't know it was heterosexuality, but you knew around age maybe 3 or 4 that one man and one woman form a union of some sorts as a father or a mother or a husband or a wife, and they kiss sometimes or they hold hands. You knew that was a thing. So how is awareness of that at a very young age not sexually explicit, but awareness of that about two men or two women all of a sudden sexually explicit? Is the difference not the mere fact that one of them is heterosexual and the other one is homosexual? That's the only difference. So why is one of them considered sexually explicit and the other one not? Oh, Secular Sakai is here. Hey, unmute yourself.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So,
Okay.
yeah. Regarding pretty much all the bills that have happened recently in the U.S. in the South, whether it's Florida or the new stuff going on with Texas and Louisiana, yeah, I strongly agree. Very strongly opposed to the "Don't Say Gay" bill, the recent abortion bills, trigger bills, all of that. But yeah, just thought I'd pop in right quick because, yeah, I actually had a few other questions I thought I would bring up, unless you still had more patron questions you were going through.
No, I don't. I just have one donation by Kenny D. Meter of 20 pounds, 20 euros that I need to thank. Thank you for that. And I only have, thank you so much. I only have two more live questions, so we have time.
Oh, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, then I could go down one of two paths, either a political question related to Ukraine or a religious question related to India and Islam. Which one sounds good to you?
Both. They both sound very interesting.
Okay, cool.
Can we do both? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Well, the first one, I'll start with the religious question first. I think I might have asked this a few months ago, actually, but are you familiar with the Ahmadiyya sect of Islam uh, that was started in India?
Yeah, and it's a major problem in Pakistan.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, well, I know that the current government there is very opposed to Ahmadiyya, like it's not recognized
Yeah.
as yeah. Well, and actually just in general in the Muslim world, Ahmadis are usually very heavily persecuted.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so I guess I just wanted to discuss that a little bit, and ask about your opinion regarding, um, I guess the general your familiarity with the beliefs of the Ahmadi, and also like the I guess social or political affiliations of different groups associated with Ahmadiyya, the sect. So, like for example, you know, the big issue, not the only issue, but one of the biggest issues that most other Muslims have is the fact that Ahmadis have another prophet who they claim is a prophet who came after Muhammad, and so
Yeah.
that's not halal. That's not okay with a lot of Muslims. So they also have a non-political, as far as I'm aware, non-political caliphate that they claim to be a continuation of the first caliphate that occurred shortly after the death of Muhammad several centuries back, um, which has some, I don't believe headquarters, but several sites located within the United Kingdom. So I guess I wanted to ask your opinion regarding Ahmadi beliefs, your familiarity with them, and whether there's any um, friction or contention uh, regarding an organization that calls itself a caliphate having locations and mosques within the United Kingdom.
All right. So this is very interesting. Okay. So here's the points I have. Okay. So first of all, the Ahmadis have managed to bring a lot of Sunnis and Shias together and unite them against them, right?
Hmm.
Because of how controversial, how un-Islamic their ideas sound. Okay, so Ahmadiyas and Baha'is, especially Ahmadiyas, because they insist that they're Muslim, uh, really challenge the definition of a Muslim, right? And whether we could have definitions of Muslims that are more inclusive or less inclusive, right? So they are a good example to always point to, right? So what sorts of beliefs makes you a Muslim, right? Because unlike what a lot of people think, a Muslim is not necessarily a person who does the right things. You could be a Muslim that constantly sins and goes to hell, but you're still a Muslim, because being a Muslim is mostly an identity based on the beliefs that you have, not necessarily the actions that you take. You could be a good Muslim or a bad Muslim, right? So many, I don't want to say most because that might be controversial, but many Muslims and most Islamic scholars, well, actually, let me just say many Islamic scholars and many Muslims would consider not considering Muhammad the last prophet to put you out of the definition of who's a Muslim, right? So the uncontroversial parts that is there's no disagreement over is that to be a Muslim, you have to believe in Tawheed, in the oneness of Allah as the only God with no partners, right? That's a fundamental concept. The second most fundamental part is to believe that Muhammad is the prophet of Allah. He's the Rasulullah, right? The third fundamental part, which is some people consider it, belief in it as necessary part of the condition of being a Muslim, and some people don't. That's a huge debate. Is in the belief in the afterlife. Okay, but that is debatable because if you listen to the Shahadat, it doesn't have that, right? You say Ashhadu anna la ilaha illallah, which means I testify that there's no God other than Allah, which is the concept of Tawheed, and then you say Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, and it basically means I testify that Muhammad is the prophet of God, right? It's sent by God. But it doesn't say the last prophet of God, right? The Shahada doesn't say the seal of the prophet. It just says prophet, right? So now, but a lot of people say that is given. Like for you to be a Muslim, you can't just accept Muhammad as a prophet. You have to accept Muhammad as the seal of all prophets. This is the last prophet. And if you don't, you're not a Muslim.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So just to ask really quickly, is that something that is just kind of it's evolved culturally, or are there hadith or other scripture that people cite in order to back up that claim?
Oh no, yeah. I mean, no. The fact that Muhammad is this seal of the prophet is scripture, okay? But I guess they could play with the interpretation of what the seal means, right? But I mean, to technically, if you want to go, you could. It's in the favor of the people who the scripture is in the favor of people who say that Muhammad is the last prophet. Okay, so scripture actually supports their view, I think. Okay, so I'm pretty sure if there was an Ahmadi here, they would object and they will come up with their interpretation for why that's not true. Okay, but we could we could debate that. Okay,
right.
But most Muslims, so here, let me make two statements. The vast majority of Muslims agree that Muhammad is the last prophet. Okay, but a smaller percentage, but I think still vast, believe that it's true and it's necessary for you to believe that to be a Muslim. So some people could say like, oh, I as a Muslim believe that Muhammad is the last prophet, but I'm not going to say that if you don't believe that, you're not a Muslim. I could say that you're still a Muslim who's wrong about some parts of Islam. But that is not how a lot of other Muslims see it. I'm going to say a lot, and probably a majority, I don't know, I haven't seen any polls on this. A majority of Muslims think like, no, if you say that Muhammad is not the last prophet, it's more than you just being a Muslim who's wrong about parts of Islam. It's actually, if you believe that, then you're not a Muslim. Right?
Right. Okay.
So the Ahmadis, I think, have been attempting to show their version of Islam as a lot more moderate and peaceful. as a way to promote more acceptance about their version of Islam compared to, I don't know, Sunnis and Shias, right?
Mhm.
I mean, their scriptures though is still pretty insane. Like it's very anti-Semitic. It's very anti. You know, they have their own even additional
Yeah.
crazy views, right?
Yeah.
But in effect, it's true that they are like, I don't like just the name, the fact that they have a caliphate. Like I think that is not as alarming as ISIS, just because ISIS also called what they have a caliphate, and they also call what they have a caliphate. That by itself doesn't mean that they are like even remotely close to that, right?
Mhm.
So I am more in favor of challenging their beliefs without suggesting that they are dangerous radicals just because what they have is called a caliphate, because it's not even remotely close.
Mm. Gotcha.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't be worried about. I wouldn't be worried about that from
Well,
that
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, well, and it's not so much a matter of whether there's anything to be worried about. As far as I'm aware, I haven't been. I'm not aware of any. I mean, I could be wrong because I haven't looked into it deeply enough to know for certain. I'm not aware of specific radical groups within, the group that calls itself a caliphate that's associated with Ahmadiyya. Just the fact that they use in English, they use that particular word. If English speakers ever, since ISIL and all of that happened, if there's ever been any contention regarding just the naming, I suppose, of their group. But okay, yeah, that makes total sense. It's also very interesting, especially since historically speaking, in more modern times, regarding the spread of Islam in India and modern India, as well as Africa and even the Americas, Canada and the United States. A lot of the, I guess you could say, more or less homegrown versions of Islam that were developed in the Americas were inspired by Ahmadiyya in like the mid 20th century. So, yeah, very
Yeah.
interesting stuff.
You could see in Pakistan, for example, this is such a huge issue that a lot of politicians, all their slogans is highlighting not that Muhammad is the prophet, but the last prophet. You know what I mean? Like, and a very this you have to signal how strongly you're standing against any Ahmadiyya claim. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like you
yeah,
have to signal. It's about signaling it stronger than the next politician.
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
pocket more than, if you go into a lot of Islamic countries, you see like the constant mention of Muhammad being the Rasulullah or Prophet of God, Allah, right?
Mhm.
Everywhere. But in Pakistan, you see more insistence on mentioning the last part. You know what I mean?
In order
Of
to,
an
mhm,
Yeah, as an anti-Ahmadi stance.
in order to preserve the traditionalism, in order to preserve the original line, the original Sunni idea of Islam. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and also I don't know if you know about this, in Pakistan, your passport application requires you to say that Ahmadi is not Islam.
Yeah, they're listed as their own separate religion, which actually
No,
becomes
no, no, no.
oh
It's not
yeah.
that. It's not that. Like, it's not. This is not just for Ahmadis.
Hmm.
Anybody who in Pakistan, whether you're Ahmadi or not, you have to testify that you know that Ahmadiyas are not Muslim.
Oh, just anyone in general?
Anyone in general, you could be a Sunni Muslim, a Christian. In order to get your passport, you have to declare that Ahmadis are not Muslim. Even on
Wow.
the website, there's a part where you have to check that you
Wow.
declare that Ahmadis are not Muslim,
Wow. Yeah, that's that's surprising.
or else you're not going to get your passport.
Huh. Interesting. Okay,
That's how
so
that's how sensitive they are about this. But you're going.
gotcha. So it sounds like in Pakistan specifically, Ahmadis are seen as a bit of a potential political threat. Is what it
I mean,
sounds.
in Pakistan, a religious threat is a political political threat,
Right,
given
yeah.
that everything about Pakistan identity is Islam. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So anything, even if it's just a morphing or a reinterpretation of Islam, is considered to be a threat or a
Yeah,
potential threat. Yeah.
yeah. By
Okay.
the way, somebody in the live chat is asking, would that come under the no true Scotsman fallacy? It depends on how you define a Muslim, okay? Because there are if based on my definition of a Muslim, it would be a no true Scotsman fallacy. But if you are somebody who defines a Muslim as somebody who believes Muhammad to be the seal of the prophets, then it would not be a no true Scotsman fallacy, right? So, for example, if you say that, uh, a, you know, a true Scotsman would never behave like that, that would be a no true Scotsman fallacy. But if you say, oh, this person has not been born in Scotland, has never been to Scotland, and his parents are not Scottish, therefore he's not a Scotsman, then in that situation, or like nobody in his ancestry is a Scottish, in that situation, based on a definition of a Scotsman, you can safely say that that person is not a Scotsman, right? So, I mean, at some point, if you are outside of the definitions, then you're not committing the fallacy. So the question is, what is the definition?
Right. So in
Mm.
this case, trying to utilize that fallacy would be something along the line for Ahmadis. If someone who did not recognize them as Muslim were to try to do so, would be like no true Muslim would accept any prophet after Muhammad. And then if the opposition were to say, but I'm an Ahmadi and I have my prophet who came after Muhammad, then the counter argument would just be, but no true Muslim would accept a prophet after Muhammad. Something
Yeah,
along
yeah.
those lines.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, it depends on the definition. If you agree with the definition, then you're not committing the fallacy. But if you don't agree with the definition, then you're
Mhm.
committing the fallacy. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'll quickly move to the next question just because I know you got a few other questions too in chat. The other one, related to Russia and Ukraine, actually, I guess by proxy is related, but have you kept up at all with the Belarusian opposition that's been happening in that country, neighboring Russia and Ukraine, and any of the events that have been happening there? And I guess I ask because it's very subtle, or I guess it's kind of been a slow buildup recently because it gets overshadowed, obviously, by the actual war going on in Ukraine. But I've noticed news reports uh, about clandestine sabotage, about groups basically that helped to assist in preventing Russian logistics and supplies easily making it um, across the border from Belarus to Ukraine during the attempted invasion of Kiev a few weeks ago. And the slowly rising popularity of Svetlana Sinoskaya, uh, who is the leader basically of the Belarusian government in exile, which I believe is headquartered in either Canada or the US. I can't recall which. Um, so basically, I guess I just wanted to ask if you were at all familiar with her or her work. She's been I think nominated for 2 Nobel Prizes in the past,
Oh
or
wow.
twice for it in the past. And yeah, she's just kind of celebrated as the
What's her
non
name?
Svetlana Sikhanovskaya.
Mhm.
Uh,
And
it
she's not in Belarus?
No, she's been in
Mm.
exile for the last. She was originally. She was uh, an opposition political figure there, along with her husband. Her husband currently is in prison for being a political opponent to the regime, because the Lukashenko, the president there, has been in charge for almost 3 decades now. Um, so 30 years of rule under a brutal dictator. Uh, and so, but basically, and what's interesting is she and her husband were one of the most recent generations, the most recent incarnations of this opposition. But the government in exile that they represent, or I suppose they work with, is one that's been around for a long time. The Rada of the Belarusian Democratic Republic. It's been around for more than 100 years now. It's the oldest government in exile, operating since 1919.
Wow.
So yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's very interesting, and it's just kind of been something that I've been keeping my eye on because everyone is paying attention to and has their eyes on Russia, Ukraine, the effect on the U.S. and the EU, but then the fate of Belarus and also the fate of Ukraine, depending on how Belarus operates militarily and politically during this whole
Really?
fiasco.
Is that
Really,
if it has that much of an impact?
I mean,
Uh,
it could potentially because if Belarus were to destabilize, then that would be something that Russia would have to take care of if they wanted to keep their man in power there. So that would pull
mm.
Russia into a conflict in Belarus. Realistically, they'd probably be able to, you know, contain any protests or any kind of rebellion there. But yeah, it's complicated, which is more the reason why it's been so quiet. More focus on damaging logistics and sabotage rather than giving
So
the
wait,
Russians
these
an excuse to
who
invade.
we have opposition groups in Belarus that are sabotaging Russian attacks on Ukraine. Is that what you're saying?
From what I would have to go back and find the article, but yes, from what I recall, I was reading about this network, this decentralized network in Belarus that had been working against the Russians and the Belarusians, the Belarusian military and government. I don't know what their current status is because
Hmm.
um, they're decentralized. They operate kind of like anonymous, basically, but an IRL version of anonymous. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, basically, whether Belarus, and the other thing is this, it's kind of this cat and mouse game because if Belarus starts throwing its own soldiers in and things don't go well and they lose a lot of soldiers um, sending their men to fight in Ukraine, then that could further destabilize and create critical, political situation in the country. And that could become a situation where Russia is forced to fully occupy and perhaps even annex or replace the Belarusian military, um, which people don't want there. But at the same time, if they don't do something, or if sabotage is as big of an issue as has been implied by some of the reports I've seen, then you know there's the risk of Russia no longer seeing them as an ally, or the risk of appearing weak in front of Putin, which is fatal for a lot of people. I'm sure if you've seen in the news the headlines of oligarchs being poisoned or being found mysteriously dead. So it's
Hmm.
very fascinating if you have an interest in international
Yeah.
espionage and intrigue. Yeah,
That sounds like a documentary waiting to be made.
yeah,
Um, I mean, based on what you're saying, I hope it becomes as much of a hassle or barrier for Russian forces as possible. Like whatever could cause more difficulty for Russian forces
yeah,
would be good. So I wish them the best of luck.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I did have one more question, just because I know that they do have. It's funny. I actually um, I actually happened to have one of their flags, and someone recognized it one day when I was flying it, who was himself from, I believe, Saskatchewan. Have you ever seen a white, red, white flag? Anyone flying one around your
Oh,
parts?
oh, I thought you were gonna say white, blue, white.
It's the same.
Um,
It looks exactly the same, but with a red stripe.
what does that represent?
The Belarusian government in exile.
Mm. That's so interesting. We have a white blue one, white blue white, which is opposition Russians opposing
Hmm.
the Russian regime, and now we have a white, red, white. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We could. Do you think they could work with each other, the white, blue, white, and the white, red, white?
I
Given that, yeah.
I think that they already are.
Okay.
But again, uh, I couldn't say with certainty.
Hmm.
But anyway,
It seems like a perfect match, no?
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I like both of the flags. But anyway,
Mm.
so yeah, that was basically all I wanted to talk about for this week. So I'll let you get back to the rest of the questions. But yeah,
Interesting thing. Like, I'm now very curious. So thank you for throwing this here. Like, th- that's fascinating. Thank you for that.
yeah, yeah.
People in the live chat were saying you're very knowledgeable.
Uh,
Wow.
I mean, no more so than anyone else who has an internet connection and enough time on their hands.
Secular rarity saying, "Damn, I'm just gonna say it again. You all secular Sakai got some mother effing knowledge." Basically. Okay.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Okay.
All right.
Mhm.
Well, I'll
All
talk
right.
to you again later.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. See ya.
All right. So I'm just gonna mention that we just got 2 new members, Kenny Demeter and Jamal Nasir. Jamal Nasir. Just became members. Thank you so much for being members. So that means like we should be only 8 members away. I think we're only 8 members away from adding a whole bunch of more emoticons. Yeah, yes, again, yeah. So 2 new members. That means Susanna saying we're getting closer to new emojis. We're so close, guys. That's fantastic. Thank you for joining. So just remember that the new members and the future, every week we have Q&As almost every week, and members can come hop on live on air and ask their questions live, just like Secular Sakai just did, right? Anyways, we have 2 more questions in the live chat. Secular Sakai is saying, speaking of which, what my question? Oh wait, no, this is not a question. This is an announcement. My question for next week is about Rwanda. Oh, okay. Let's see. We'll wait for that one. That's good. And here's another last comment or question. Blank them is saying you should talk to Perspective Philosophy again. He has become more accessible since then. I don't remember Perspective Philosophy. Wait, was there, was that a good discussion? Did we have a good discussion? Oh yeah, this guy. Yeah, I had a fun talk with this guy. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe talk to them to the reach to me because I don't have time to reach to other people. Cool. All right. I'm gonna end this here. I'm gonna remove the link on the community tab so that other people don't get confused after the stream because they're gonna click on it and they're gonna end up in nowhere. So I just removed the link. So guys, don't leave without liking the video. We just did 3 hours of stream, so I think that is worth at least a like. All right, it takes half a second. It doesn't cost you anything, so make sure you like the video. And if you want to support us even more, share the video. If you want to support us even more, leave a comment after the stream is over. And do not support us financially at all, even a cent, if you're struggling. People, if you have debts, if you have issues, if you can't meet your payments, you have to take care of yourself. Okay, so if you're only become a patron or a YouTube member or a PayPal donor, only if you are very safe and secure financially. Okay, if you do want to support us financially, you could become a patron, which gives you access to all our explicit, sexy, blasphemous art, and also lets you during our Q&A, lets you ask your questions ahead of time, and we will spend more time on it. If you want to be a YouTube member, that gives you the ability to come and ask your questions live on air. And if you are a PayPal donor, that gets you nothing, but it gives us a donation. Or you could also use the donate button, which the donate button is the best way to financially support us because YouTube doesn't take any cut, and it also covers all the transaction fees. So every single cent will go to Atheist Republic, which is fantastic, amazing that we can do that. Anyways, thank you guys for all of that and for being here and watching. And see you again in 2 days, when me and Susanna will be covering the news. Till then, bye.